Like, comment, share. You know what to do. Let's go.
Let's go. This ain't the fuck like oh, this thing he stinks.
Oh shit!
It's cold.
What's going on?
Yes, there's always some oh shit moments, isn't there?
Yeah.
Here, not just on A2D, but specifically here on the weekly roundup. It doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to matter who it is, whether it's me, Daniel, and Steven, or me, Daniel, and Frank, as it is tonight. There'll be some oh shit moments. Frank,
Yeah.
according to that video, you have all the oh shit moments apparently. Between your dogs and everything else. I don't know why it's you, but it's always you.
I don't know. So yeah, I'm just here to bring you guys on the air. So I'm gonna Tony Soprano my way out here and leave.
You see,
that.
This is what he does. This is what he does, Daniel. This is what he does.
He just gets that 10 seconds of fame and then he's out.
Well, Frank's moving to Delaware soon, right? Looking to buy a new home, right? And we got somebody for that here at A2D. If you're looking to buy or sell a home like Frank is, if you're looking for a change in career or brokerage, you can contact Alan J. Foy at eXp Realty LLC at 302-682-8820 or visit him at alan.foy at exprealty.com. I've got to squint to read his phone number. That's how bad my vision is, Daniel. I feel so old. It's just so terrible. Oh, my goodness.
So it's been a couple weeks since we've been on.
Yes, it's been a couple weeks. A lot of things. The wifey's birthday last weekend, so we had to
Happy
take care
birthday
of
to
that.
her.
I guess, it's the older we get, Daniel, you know how it goes. Like the older you get, and now it's just like Jesus. It's just 1 year closer to death. That's all this is. Okay, it's not anything special at this point. Happy birthday to me. No, like, fuck. Every year, you have your birthday and you're supposed to be excited, but you just feel older and older, right? You blow out those cakes, you're like, ow, blow out the candles, you're like, ow, that hurt. Why did it hurt to blow out the candles on the cake? Oh my God. That's where I'm at right now, Danial.
No,
I go to get up off the chair and I feel like my hamstring pop and my knee crack. It's like, wait, am I 28 or 58? Jesus Christ.
We got Jake chiming in. What's up, boys? I absolutely agree with the poll. Why don't you tell them about the poll right now?
Yeah, the poll, Daniel. We've got this MLB, strike, I guess we could call it at this point, that just continues, and a lot of the players have been very vocal of one Mr. Rob Manfred, and we do a lot of ripping of Roger Goodell. It seems like on this platform, as does everybody. But maybe as much as we bitch about Goodell, right? Like, can't really complain about the direction, I guess, that the league goes. They make money, everything, viewership always through the roof. Much as we might bitch about some of the things from a rules perspective or changes they make, never seems to hurt the league. Rob Manfred, this dude is like the example of a guy that bites off his nose to spite his face, right? Like, he cuts off his nose to spite his face. You don't say, don't cut off your nose to spite your face. He can't get out of his own way, and every decision that he makes seems to just hurt the game, more and more and more. I mean, to a point, Stroman called them man clown. He said man clown and his boys, and then Max Scherzer's out here. Well, Max Scherzer was in the parking lot doing some type of personal strike of some kind, wasn't he? Did you see that story where Max Scherzer was? I think he had some type of booth set up in a parking lot, and he was doing something really obnoxious to try to bring attention to the fact that Manfred in this whole process is just ridiculous.
What better do they have right now, because they're not in spring training per se. We should be knee deep in spring training, get ready for the 2022 season. But what are they doing? Still worrying about this stupid strike. Because
forget about it. Forget about getting ready for a spring training, anything like that. You might not even have a season at this point. They've got till Monday to come to an agreement, which isn't going to happen.
No.
So, like, spring training's already going to get pushed back. The start of the regular season, at least, is going to get pushed back. But this is it seems like the more you hear some of the insiders talk about it, they're almost laughing at this point with like the lack of progress with everything, as far as it's like both sides are being so stubborn right now. I wouldn't be surprised if nothing happens this year. You might just get it to a fuck it perspective, to a fuck it point, especially since the owners have now the players fuck them and their payment and getting paid what they want to get paid and full season payments and all these things. They already went through this a couple years ago in the pandemic, where they decided, okay, we'll take a pay cut or whatever to play half a season, and we saw how much of a shit show that was. I don't think the players will do that again this year. Let's say fuck you. We'll sit at home on our asses, and we ain't going to have a season, and we'll see who hurts, who gets hurt more from this.
Because, like you said, they've already given in once. They're not going to do it again.
The players might say, we'll go play in Japan or something, Daniel. Like, you know what I mean? Well, go play in Japan or Mexico in a league like that, where they know if they go there, it'll bring eyes to it. There'll be enough people watching. It'll be worth it for them.
And we have already had 5-6 players that already did that before this whole thing started, because they said that they felt like they weren't going to come to an agreement. They foresaw this. And they made the right decision, because I haven't heard anything of talks, at least moving forward. All I hear is stand still, and that's it. And usually, it's going to come to something when they come to at least agreement on something. They haven't come to agreement on anything. And of course, Manfred's not budging with the MLB. The players have a right not to budge on their behalf because of everything going on the past couple of years. So it's like the players are
100% in the right here.
Yeah.
It was Walker Buehler from the Dodgers who came out and said this isn't a players, versus owners or a millionaires versus billionaires type battle. This is a workers against, like bosses type battle, just like any union would be for any job. It's the workers against the bosses. And, when you're at a point where the revenue for the sport has gone up each of the past 3 years, yet player salaries have gone down. I mean, and I don't know how I can have anybody else's side here except the players. I know there's a lot of money on both sides. I know people that just want to look at it like, oh, yeah, they're both being greedy. Well, if you're in the player's shoes right now, and you're in the owner's shoes, let's look. You're the owners. You're the one being greedy. You've decided that we like status quo because the revenue keeps going up, but the salaries keep going down, which means more money in my pocket as the owner. And of course, I like that because I'm a greedy, rich, billionaire, wealthy bastard, right? So I don't want the status quo to change. Fuck the players. But if you're the players, you're like, bro, the reason there's asses in the seats and the revenue's going up and all that is because of me. So why shouldn't I get more of a cut of the salary and the revenue?
Yes.
So I mean, really, I just see a bunch of greedy bastards on the owner's side of it, a bunch of rich billionaires who probably have 5 or 6 different revenue streams. And I just see the players kind of being like, we're getting fucked over here. So, I'm not going to sit here and take the side of the billionaire owners knowing the ins and outs of all this.
Yeah,
but Manfred,
just like you said, they're pocketing money. Yeah, he's pocketing money. He's not helping the players out. At the end of the day, he doesn't care because he's getting rich no matter what. The players are the ones that are making him money. He should help them out, get them what they want, get this settled as soon as possible, save the season. Like, if you want to do your job, that's what you want to do. You want to have a season. But at this point,
he would step in and try to, like, it's almost like he's like, I'm not going to do shit. I'm just going to sit around and do nothing, and y'all handle this. That's not going to get anything done. You're the commissioner of baseball. Like, at some point, step in and, I feel like the players feel as if he doesn't have their back in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And he hasn't come out really at any point in this process to make it feel as if, if I'm a player, I definitely would, like, what has he done at any point in this process to make me feel as a player as if he's supporting us?
I've always been critical of hockey and how they're run. But at least I feel like he has their back in hockey. He tries to make things to at least change the game a little bit. He changed up the All-Star game to make it more fan friendly, make it more hockey friendly for the players. And he's doing the players right by kind of trying to keep them from getting hurt more. A lot of the fans don't like how he's doing it, but at least he's doing it to protect the players with the rules that he put in. Manfred, what is he actually doing? He's not doing anything.
Yeah.
He's just pocketing money, and he's a fraud to me at this point. That's what he is. He's not helping the game at all. If he was trying to help the game, he'd make sure the season started when it should. He'd make sure the players get paid how they should be and move forward. But that's why we're in the precarious situation we are now, because he's not stepping in. He's just letting it happen, where it looks like we're going to have a year-long strike because nothing's going to go on.
Well, and at least in a sport like hockey, when they had the lockout, players went overseas and there was some sort of agreement that you go play somewhere else, and when everything gets settled here, we'll come back here and we'll make some sort of agreement, whatever that is. You're going to come back and play in the NHL at that point. Basketball did the same thing. Guys went and played in China and stuff like that. Went and played overseas in all different countries when the NBA lockout was going on, and then make your way back once there's an agreement there.
What do you think about what John said? He said neither side cares about the fans. If they did, they would get the deal done, in my opinion.
That's bullshit. Because what you're always saying there is that you want the players to just sit there and take it up the ass and say, okay, I'm fine with getting fucked over if that means that we're going to have a season. And they shouldn't have to do that.
No.
They really should.
They've already done it once to save half of a season 2 years ago. They shouldn't have to do it a second time. This time, Manfred should step in and get the players what they want that way, because they're the ones that, at the end of the day, they're the ones that go out there and play 160 plus games a year. They're the ones that go out there and do that.
As much as we were critical and people were critical of Bud Selig back when he was commissioner, I mean, you would have gotten the opposite from Bud Selig. First of all, Bud Selig would have been very in the public, would have been making public statements, public comments, actually, giving you something to be like, okay, this is where this is headed. And I also feel like Bud Selig was a guy that was very aware of, hey, the players are, our bread and butter. There's what, that's our bacon right there, right? They're the ones that's making us our bacon. The players are the most important thing here. They're the reason why we've got a sport, why the revenue is what it is, all these things. And if anything, he was always going to publicly sound as if he had the players back, while also trying to sit there and fluff the owners as much as he could behind the scenes to give them what they wanted. But he always publicly would come out and sound as if, he was always more on the players' side than he was the owners. And that's just not a thing here with Rob Manfred. Not that I think Bud Selig was a guy that, as a former owner and things like that, Bud Selig loved the game of baseball, was very passionate about the game of baseball, and cared deeply about the direction that it was going and the growth of the game. I don't think Manfred cares about that. He's not a baseball guy, and I don't really think his interests involve, growing the game in a certain direction or anything like that. He's interested in the bottom dollar. It's just, I don't understand. I don't understand how he doesn't have the self-awareness to see that being the mindset, worrying about this and dollar signs, as opposed to actually finding a direction to grow the sport. Listening to your players, taking everybody's opinion into, the shift is a big thing that everybody's talking about right now. And he just wants to sit with his thumb up his ass and not do anything about it. I mean, we bitch about analytics. I'm cool with defensive shifts and things like that, but I'm with you. At some point, it does get ridiculous when I've got 6 infielders, 6 guys on one side and 4 guys in the outfield. And, you just look at things and you go, like, this isn't good for the game. There's nothing about this that makes it go, oh, fun. He just hit another ground ball into the shift. Great. Let's, or he just had a line drive that most guys, that's a base hit the right field. And instead it's a line drive out to a second baseman who's playing shallow right field because you've got 4 outfielders. Do something with it. I don't know. But you can't just sit there with your thumb up your ass and not address any of this shit. And the DH thing, the universal DH wasn't even Manfred's idea. That's something that's been going around forever, that players have been really calling for and organizations have been calling for. And Manfred finally said, okay, cool. You guys want it. Let's do it. That wasn't his idea. It wasn't like he pushed for that.
And it makes it seem like he's trying to take advantage of it. Like he's the one that came up with it, but he definitely did not. We got William.
He'll definitely use that as an excuse. He'll say,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, we'll go out and do it with the universal DH," as if he did something. Sure,
We
absolutely.
got Roy Middlebrook chiming in. See, you guys are saying the same thing everybody else is. Give the players what they want, but has anybody heard what exactly is it that they want?
Yeah, they want a fairer cut of the revenue.
Yeah.
They want to not be fucked over when it comes to service time and things like that. I mean, the story that was out there that made me laugh the most was the Chris Bryant story from his rookie year with the Cubs when they held him down. They held him down in the minors, even though he lit it up in spring training that year, hit like over 400 in spring training, had like 13 homers. You're like, this guy should be your starting third baseman. And they held him down in the minors until the day after. The day after, you know, so he missed being able to be eligible to be a free agent by 1 day. So they were able to now get an extra year of service time. So instead of him being a free agent in 2020 or 2019, he didn't become a free agent until 2020 or something like that. It was ridiculous.
The Phillies did it with Ryan Howard, too. He hit 50 home runs. The next season, they waited to bring him up.
Well, yeah, they were in a position where at least they had Tommy there, and you were kind of like, this is tough.
But that's what the teams are doing now. They're just to get that extra year of under the team's belt.
And they make it clear too, like they don't even try to hide it.
Yeah.
It used to be something where they would come up, oh, well, we don't quite think he's ready yet or whatever. Like now they just openly come out and say, oh, well, yeah, there's a good chance he won't play until this date because then we get an extra year of team control for him. You're like, what? Like, great. So like, what about the player who's like, I'd rather be a free agent at 27 as opposed to 28, which is, let's be honest, that's a huge difference when it comes to an athlete, like as far as your prime years go. That's a whole extra year in your prime where you get to make an extra $20 or $30 million that you're not getting because they fucked you out of an extra year, and you got to wait the extra year before you get paid. You know, shit like that shouldn't be a thing, and it shouldn't be able to be exploited the way it is. And it's not that. I don't think it's that crazy for players to be asking for something like that.
Yeah, we got John chiming in. What about the fans? If the fans leave and not buy tickets or merch, both sides will get hurt. Am I wrong? The fans get hurt. I mean, the players
fans are getting hurt regardless, right?
Yeah,
the fans are getting hurt regardless. But just because the fans are getting hurt, like you can't ask the players to sit there and get fucked over because what about the fans? Well, that's going to be what it is anyway. Like if you're the players, you got to look out for you right now because that's what's most important here. And hopefully the fan situation will take care of itself, and things are what they are. But that is like the most ridiculous argument. I don't know why everybody I hear way too many people with that argument. Oh well, like don't you think that just for the better of the players should just decide to suck it up? Like no, I don't. Like I don't. Like you go suck it up. You go to your job and get fucked over by your union and fucked over by your bosses, and I'm going to show up and tell you to suck it up. And we'll see how you feel about it.
Yeah, the top half of the players, the ones that get paid millions and millions, they're the ones that are kind of fine where they get paid so much. It's the players as a whole.
Right. And it's those guys that are making all that money that are standing up for the little man, right? It's like it's like you got the Max Scherzers of the games that are standing up for the younger players that are like, no. Listen, I'm Max Scherzer. You ain't going to silence me. There ain't nothing you can do about me standing up and saying anything. I'm going to say what the hell I want. And y'all going to listen because that's the way this goes, and this isn't right what y'all are doing to these younger players.
Yeah, it's just like I compare it to the UFC. The UFC's going through the same thing where the top half, they're getting paid, but then the people that are just breaking in, they're not getting paid that much. And you got the ones up high that are trying to fight for everybody, that you should have a better pay scale no matter what. Just because somebody's getting paid $400 million like Mike Trout, that doesn't mean everybody else is getting paid that much. It just means that he's gotten to the point where he got paid. You got people that are getting called up, again, not making as much. They're probably making maybe $75,000 to $100,000 when they should be getting paid more because of the business of baseball as it is now. They make a lot of money, and people buy the shirts, buy the merch and whatnot. That the front offices and Manfred, they make a lot of money regardless of how the season is. But these players, they play to make the money. They have to make the money. So they're trying to rise to a better position so they can make more. And Manfred's not having their back on it. That's what I take from it.
Let's be honest. The MLB is going to make plenty of money between all of the video game revenue that they get and all these licensing contracts that they have. So like all that, like, it's like those the money that the owners and all the executives are getting, like this was, I don't think, Bill, I don't think he's quite understanding what's happening. Do we go from millions to billions? That's not what it's about, Bill. It's about percentages. If you've got revenue, right, and it's about, what percentage of the revenue should the players get compared to the owners? And there used to be a time in baseball where the players were getting close to 60% of the revenue. And somehow it went from that to where now it's like more like the owners are getting the majority of the revenue, which if you ask me, owners should never get the majority of anything. Because again, I'm watching the game, and the reason the game's making all the money that it's making is because I'm watching for the players that are playing the game, not because of the owners or anybody else. It's because who's playing the game. So if we're talking about who should get the higher percentage of money when it comes to revenue, the players should always get a higher cut. But I don't think that's the players' biggest argument right now. I think the players' biggest argument is like the service time stuff that we were talking about. First year, when it comes to first year arbitration eligible players and how much they can make in that first year of arbitration eligibility. Little things like that. Because remember, when these guys get drafted and they come up through the system, an organization has 6 full big league seasons of team control of that guy. That guy can't become a free agent. Now they can choose to trade him, but he can't become a free agent until those 6 years of big league eligibility, those first 6 years are up. So it's all about, year 1 of arbitration eligibility, year 2, year 3. And these players want, they want what is considered to be a little bit more fair of a cut. Instead of being able to have $5 million in my first year of arbitration eligibility, they want it to be 8 or 10 million, which I don't know what number is too much, but I don't think that's what it's about. It's not about, put a number on it. There isn't a such thing as putting a number on it. It's just about the percentages when you look at the revenue of
what's going on, Rob?
How things are being split and how things get paid out. And I think everything, what I said earlier about the revenue's gone up each of the past 3 years, but the player salaries have gone down. Well, what's too much? I don't know. I know if revenue's going up, player salary shouldn't be going down. I know that. I'm not smart enough to figure out and crunch the numbers, but I know if revenue's going up, so should player salaries. That should go hand in hand.
Yeah, and you can't just, like I said before, you can't just look at the top half. Be like, 500 million, 400 million, 300 million. That's just showing if you take that away, all the rest of the players are making a lot less. So it's like those core players at the top that are getting paid so much, it's what's making it go high. It seems like it's higher than what it should be.
And I think that's part of their other argument is look at the difference between the elite players. Oh, I just signed a $30 million a year contract compared to a guy who's an elite player now by year 3. Right, year 3 now has first year of arbitration eligibility. We know he's a really elite player. Oh, you can only make $5 million in this first year of arbitration eligibility. What? I'm just as good of a player as the dude who's making $30 million a year right now. Oh yeah, but like it's like they're like, oh, but you've got to pay your dues before. Why? Because no, you don't. Because we're seeing organizations sign a dude in year 1 to like a 12-year, $300 million contract too. So it's it's like there's no reason why when you look at year 1 of arbitration eligibility that a guy should be forced. Oh well, you can. This is the only amount you can make this much and not a penny more. Why? What? Like what is that? Like what sense does that make when? Who's the dude? The shortstop for Tampa that just signed like that 12-year, $300 and something million deal or whatever it is for them. Wander Franco or whatever. They just was that stud rookie for them. Just signed that huge deal. Now, fuck the arbitration years. They don't even have to worry about it, right? No. But not every organization's doing that, and I think that's what players look at and they go, "This guy by year 3, the same year that I'm only able to make $5 million because that's what the arbitration rules say." He's already in like the 3rd year of his $12 million, $300 million, 12-year, $300 million contract. Something doesn't make sense here.
Do you think it should be something similar to like football where they have with the franchise tag where it should be the top 10% or top 10% for paid players? So if you have arbitration, you should get paid like a top 10 player to keep them.
Sure, yeah. That way they get arbitration paid. Things. I mean, think about it. Let's just think about it like realistically, like common sense. You think about it like, what about the arbitration thing? Does that do they have that in any other sport? Like what does I don't understand that. Like where we've got to have this like tiered system where like in your first 6 years, year 3, you can make this, year 4, you can make this, year 5. Like why? Like what? I don't even understand. Like they should just get rid of that. Like fuck that. Just get rid of it completely.
Yeah.
What about the sponsors and TV networks? Don't they have a say in this? Well, sure. I mean, they kind of already did. I mean, deals
Yeah.
were signed and sponsors and TV networks, and that's all
Once
part of
they
the
get
revenue
that-
that we talk
once
about.
they-
So
yeah, once they sign the deals, they don't care anymore. It's like they already have it done, and
yeah,
like before.
but if you think the players are really involved in those deals with TV networks,
no,
no. I mean, the only way they're involved is a TV network says, "Hey, I want to have Mike Trout on ESPN,
yeah,
maybe this many times a night." And that's the TV network saying that and demanding that. But yeah, I mean, TV networks, you would think, the reason that they're doing the deals not for the owners or anything like that, they're doing it for the players too. So that's a good point, John. And I think it might actually benefit everybody more to have players, the Max Scherzers, the Mike Trouts of the world, the stars of the game, to sit in and actually do have a say in what these TV networks and in the negotiations with the sponsors and TV networks and all that is. I mean, this is part of my argument of baseball not marketing their stars. But forget about stars. Baker Mayfield is in fucking Allstate commercials and State Farm commercials, for God's sakes, in football. Yeah. Baker Mayfield, a very average player, is in commercials every Sunday, and you watch the guy and you're like, Jesus Christ, he's a better actor in these commercials than he is a quarterback. When was the last time you saw a baseball player outside of Mike Trout in a TV commercial? And the only time I can remember seeing Mike Trout in a TV commercial was for Subway. I don't even know if I can remember him in any other like TV commercial for baseball. Like,
it's been a while since he did the Under Armour one.
You know what I mean? I mean, remember the days with Ken Griffey Jr. and Derek Jeter and all those? I mean, they would be in commercials, nonstop. You'd see them everywhere. They were doing commercials for the Jordan brand and things like that. You've got a guy in Shohei Ohtani who's like the pitching, the hitting. We haven't seen a combination like that since Babe Ruth was doing it, and they can't even market the guy from like an advertising sponsor perspective. It's insanity. Like
they just had the game. They had the game coming out, and I don't hear anything about it. The game, and he's the one on the cover, I believe it is. And
and
they should make sure to market the hell out of it, and they don't.
Yeah, where's all the marketing for that? I was like, great. Like I saw that. I was like, oh, he's going to be on the cover. Okay. So when am I going to see like a TV commercial with the new gameplay for the new MLB game? Like, oh, I don't know. I guess we're still waiting. Yeah, same thing. You're just kind of sitting there like, remember when Ken Griffey Jr. had his own baseball game? Forget about MLB, whatever. Like Ken Griffey Jr. had his own fucking baseball game. Ken Griffey Jr.'s RBI baseball, whatever the fuck it was called way back in the day. You know what I mean? Like, good Lord.
Yeah. Like I just think this whole thing is killing the game right now. It's just, the game was already getting a little boring for people.
Doing more than killing it.
Yeah. Now with this, it's just dropping it even more. Like you're not going to have it on time. It's going to wind up being late if you do have it, because you hadn't even started spring training yet, and it's just making it worse of a situation. And as an owner, you would just think that he'd be on top of this, and he's far from it. And at this rate, like I said it several times, we're going to have no season with how they're working with this. Like he just needs to just give up the vice grip. The players already gave in the first time. Now he should be the one giving in now, helping them out. And then if this happens again, then that's when you could be like, okay, we gave in first, you gave in second. Now we need to come up with something in the middle.
There needs to be a former player, like as commissioner, like or something. Like a guy like Derek Jeter would be phenomenal in that role. You even got guys like Tony Clark and guys like this that are the head of the players union, where it's like, why isn't somebody like, a guy that's like the former head of the players union? Yeah, that guy should be our new commissioner, the next commissioner of baseball, not this lawyer dude who was crunching numbers in like baseball, like in the front office of baseball headquarters for like, 20 years, like, which is what Manfred was, never a baseball guy of any kind. Look at all the other sports. Much as we rip Adam Silver for like the ears and the look and just like how like dorky the guy can be, he's done a great job. You know where the NBA's headed. The NBA is a game that's played from the perimeter now. You win from the perimeter. You've got to have shooters. There's got to be spacing. Things like that.
Players
football.
Players get paid good. he has their back. He's always out there giving like a speech or saying something like if not every week, every other week. There's always something that's said from Adam Silver. He's there all the time. Even Roger Goodell. Sometimes we don't agree with him. We either agree or we vastly agree or disagree with him. He's out there. He's putting out
and there's an identity.
Yeah.
When you watch the NFL, you know like the best teams, they all have elite quarterbacks. You know, you in order to win in the NFL, you've got to have great quarterback play to go along with, you know, some explosive playmakers, and then defense. Having a great defense still helps, but even that, it's got to be playmakers, right? Aaron Donald's a playmaker. Jalen Ramsey's a playmaker, right? You've got to have playmakers on both sides of the football to go along with great quarterback play. That's how you win in today's NFL, right? That's the identity there. You see the identity when you watch it. What's the identity with baseball? Well, there's no identity. We literally make fun of what the new identity for baseball is. The new identity for baseball is home runs and strikeouts and analytics, and we make fun of it.
And now the robot as an umpire.
No, now that's the next thing. Like, are you kidding me? With a robot up, we're going to have an iPhone in an umpire's back pocket, to call balls and strikes. And it's not even like it's like a perfect system. We know, we've seen it with our eyes that there's like a total blind spot with this robot umpire where pitches will bounce in the dirt and shit and be called strikes. You want to talk about killing the game? Wait till you're in Game 5 of the World Series and you got pitches bouncing in the dirt to the catcher being called strikes because the iPhone said so.
Or better yet, he goes up and he's like, "Up! I got to change my phone. My phone died." If it's like a long game.
The iPhone, the umpire up in the booth that communicates and tells me in the earpiece whether it was a ball or strike. We read all of a sudden communication. I couldn't hear through the earpiece anymore. We couldn't communicate anymore, so I had to start calling balls and strikes manually. Like, okay, calling balls and strikes manually. Oh no, we only did that for like the first 120 years of professional baseball. God forbid we, I don't understand that. Like, what was wrong? Like the first 120 years of professional baseball. Like there was like a 60-year stretch in this country where baseball was the American pastime. It was the #1 sport. Your grandpappy and your grandmama, would tell you stories about sitting down and watching baseball games back in, about going to school and then bringing everybody into the cafeteria to watch the World Series because it used to be broadcasted during the day and they'd put it on live TV. Everybody out of class would gather in the cafeteria and we're all watching the World Series. That's how big baseball was for like a long stretch of time in this country. Now all of a sudden, like, you need robot umpires and shit. Like, what are we talking about?
It's like the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they tried to fix what didn't need to be fixed. Nothing was broken about baseball.
There was plenty of things with the game that you could have done to improve it. You didn't need to have robot umpires. It's the last thing that you needed. Tom's got a saying where he talks about, when you start listening to the fans, that's what you're going to be. You start listening to the fans and you become a fan real quick. Yeah. And then when you start listening to the fans and you make decisions as like a GM, like firing coaches or releasing players or something because you heard the noise from the fans, like you become a fan real quick. And I think part of that, like when they made the decision, we got to fix it. There was no issue with umpiring. When you look at the umpiring at Major League Baseball, when they're getting it right 98% of the time, it's hard to fix that. Now, the bad ones, Angel Hernandez only got strikes right at an 82% clip. And we know Angel Hernandez stinks, and 82% is still pretty damn good. So, I mean, let's put that all in perspective. But the best umpires are getting it right at like a 98, 99% clip when calling balls and strikes, and you want to try to find a way to make that even better. It's just silly. When there was 100 other things with the game that you could have tried to work on as far as improving it and growing it in a better direction, and you decided to get way too caught up in instant replay and the umpiring and all this nonsense. And then at the same time, we talk about cutting off your nose to spite your face. We've got to speed up the game. Yeah, let's have instant replay and let's have robot umpires. Well, none of that's speeding up the game. You talk about speeding up the game and then implement things that do the exact opposite. This stupid rule where they implemented in minor league baseball where, like, if it's a 1-1 count and there's a wild pitch, the batter can then go and try to steal first base. Why? Like what? Like what was the point? That's not needed. That's what you're talking about. The unnecessary. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Sort of shit. That's just unnecessary. Like it's an unnecessary thing where you could have focused all that resources and all that time and effort into an area of the game that actually needed it, and instead you're giving me gimmicks like that.
We got Don chiming in. I kind of agree. It's a split between Rob Manfred and Gary Bettman. At least Gary Bettman's doing something the past couple of years. At least he's shown some sort of signs with how he made the All-Star game better.
At least Bettman has something like the Winter Classic, which is going on tonight. The Stadium Series, Tampa playing in Nashville. Baseball tried to finally do something like that last year with the Field of Dreams game, and think about how much of a hit that was. I mean, the Field of Dreams game was like the best thing that's happened to Major League Baseball in probably 15 years.
Yeah, I loved it too. It was great, and they do that. They play in Williamsburg, PA every August for at least one
Which
game.
I'd like that, but to be honest, that didn't have anywhere near the feel for me that the Field of Dreams series did. I love the Field of Dreams game.
No, but that Field of Dreams game was by far probably one of the best ideas. And then
now watch, they'll come back this year and we'll have a half a season and they won't even give us a Field of Dreams series. You won't even get a Field of Dreams game.
We won't even get
an All-Star game. They should go play the World Series at you know what I mean? Go play the All-Star game or something at a thing like that. Yeah. Take the All-Star game and put it at like the Field of Dreams complex or something out there. Like that's what you do. Like that's how if you built it, they will come sort of shit. But fucking taking it to a city with one of these Major League Baseball stadiums, take it to a place like that, a neutral site. Take it to Montreal since you're all gung-ho on returning a team to Montreal. And let's have the All-Star game there one of these upcoming summers and see how people respond to it. See how much of a spectacle we can make it into sort of thing.
We got Troy saying, I can't stand the shifts. I miss stolen bases, but that kind of falls on the teams and how they view analytics.
I think teams just started to realize. I mean, stolen bases were fun. It was great to watch Ricky Henderson go out and steal a bunch of bases and then make crazy. Yeah, I'm the greatest of all time, and Ricky being Ricky. But very few guys were that proficient at stealing bases. And I think teams look at it now and they go, "You're paying these guys all this money. I don't want you getting hurt running the bases. I don't need I don't need hamstring injuries and things like that happening."
And it seems like the guys that are really good at stealing bases don't hit well. Billy Hamilton, he was a great base stealer, but he barely hit 200.
Yeah, couldn't get on base enough for it to matter, right? Yeah. Things like that. But it still seems like the guys that steal bases or the guys that are proficient at stealing bases will still steal bases. They're just not going to go steal 100 of them. But if you're being honest, in order for Ricky Henderson to go steal 100 bases, he had to run in really bad situations at times where hey, this is not a good time to try to steal a base, but it's Ricky, so it is what it is, and you let him do it because this is what he does. He steals a bunch of bases. But teams like once you learn, hey, it's not smart to go and try to steal a base in this situation, teams don't want you trying. They don't care if you make it. It's not smart. So that's where the things like this, I think the numbers have told teams, hey, great, if you could steal a base here, I guess steal a base, but is it really something that's necessary or that needed, or do the numbers tell you it's that smart? I think bunting is more of a thing where I'm like, first and second, nobody out. Yeah, you're supposed to bunt here. The problem is none of these guys know how to bunt anymore because they all get raised coming through the system from travel ball. I tell you because I umpire travel ball. I umpire it down here in Florida. And all these kids, they want to see how fucking far they can hit the ball, how hard they can throw off the mound. Nothing. They don't want to steal bases or bunt or anything like that. They're not teaching these guys that in the minor leagues. It's just not a thing. So by the time they get to the big leagues, they're taught, hey, you got to hit 30 home runs. And if you hitting 30 home runs means you're going to strike out 180 times and hit 240, we'll live with it because at least you hit me 30 homers.
It's just like you said before. It's home run, strikeout, or with the pitchers, it's all about the strikeout. It's not about situation play, whether you're like a pop-up guy, a grounder.
Yeah, Greg Maddux, where are the guys like Greg Maddux? Where are those guys around baseball? Where are they?
It's all about the things that get people into the seats, get them viewing because they're like, oh my God, he struck out 15 guys, or this guy has 50 home runs. He might bat 240, but who cares? He still has 50 home runs. Back in the day, it was all about hitting. It was all about hitting 300.
You want to speed the game up? Get me guys like Greg Maddux who can throw 2-hour complete games because, they know how to paint corners and, and spot 5 different pitches for strikes.
Jamie Moyle. Yeah, Jamie Moyle.
Pedro Martinez used to be he used to be able to throw 4 different pitches for strikes and spot them wherever the hell he wanted. It was absolutely filthy in his prime. Oh, man. Guys like that. And then on top of it, if you go back and watch guys like Greg Maddux Like it's guys would swing, like Chipper Jones used to make a living at swinging at the first pitch, right? Like, hey, if I get a fastball down the middle on the first pitch, I'm swinging at it. Might be the best pitch I get all at bat. I'm going to hit it. It seems like now everybody's got to try to like, and I'm a fan of guys working counts, but some guys are better at it than others. You know what I mean? Like some guys just, it seems like, they take a first pitch fastball down the middle. Then they take another fastball. Now you're down in the count 0-2. Really hard to hit 0-2. And then they try to fight their way back into the count. And then now this used to be times in baseball. Once you're down 0-2, remember you used to choke up and you're just going to try to hit a ball the other way and go Tony Gwynn on it. Let me go all Tony Gwynn and just hit a ball to the other way for a base hit, get on first base, high five. That's how you play the game. Instead, they're down 0-2 and they're still trying to hit a ball 500 feet. They ain't choking up. Ain't nobody choking up. They're down on the knob, still trying to hit a ball as far as they can. And they swing through another ball 0-2.
But imagine this, though. You got these players that make all these movements, and these players that are the face of your league, like the Mike Trouts. You got like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. You got the pitchers. What's his name from the Mets? Who's been dominating the past 2 years.
Oh, well,
as
Scherzer
a pitcher.
Scherzer just
you got Scherzer. You got Scherzer. Just think of this. You get a year-long like layover because you don't come to agreement and you don't play. That's 1 year wasted of these players' like career. That's 1 year, like not with their contract, but with their age. It's a year taken off of their age. And these are the guys that are putting butts in seats for the MLB. And you're killing the season because you don't want to give everybody else more money. But in reality, you're losing money because you're losing those years of play from these top players. And that's why these top players are fighting for the little guys, because they know that they're losing time out of their career.
Yeah, it's beneficial for them to fight for the little guy too. And John, John's been making great points throughout.
Yeah.
He brought up the network thing earlier. Oh, well, don't the networks have a say in this? And I just thought of something that we didn't bring up before when we were addressing that point the first time is, ESPN, they were like, oh, okay, oh, no MLB this year? Well, guess who just signed a deal with Division I NCAA baseball to broadcast 2,200 college baseball games on the ESPN family of networks. The networks aren't going to fucking hurt from this. Guess who's going to benefit? College baseball, which if anybody that's watched college baseball knows, college baseball is like fire. Like it is electric. Like college baseball is really, really exciting. It just doesn't really get, it just doesn't get the exposure that college football and college basketball do in this country. But all of a sudden it takes one thing like this where there's not going to be Sunday night baseball on ESPN this year. Oh, well, guess what? We'll have Sunday night college baseball or Friday night baseball, since that's when all the aces pitch for college. They pitch on the Friday night games. ESPN's going to try to benefit from that and go, okay, we'll just make up our money, in a different area. And, maybe something like college baseball, because you got enough baseball fans in this country. They'll get their baseball fix somewhere. Maybe college baseball finally gets the exposure that they need from it.
You got college baseball. You'll get something else. They'll wind up. I bet they'll wind up taking UFC, taking it off of ESPN Plus. They'll move it to regular ESPN. You got they have the PFL, which is only on ESPN Plus as well. They'll luckily move that to regular ESPN. They're just trying.
The USFL coming back this year.
Yeah, you got that.
These networks are gonna be like, okay, whatever. Like we ain't worried about baseball. That's fine.
You got XFL.
Joe Buck didn't see the writing on the wall. This will tell you everything you need to know about baseball this year, Daniel. Because Troy Aikman just signed that big deal to go to ESPN, and all the rumors are about Joe Buck joining him, leaving Fox to go join Troy Aikman, his longtime broadcast partner, as they do Monday Night Football. You think Joe Buck hasn't seen the writing on the wall? Fuck Fox. I ain't gonna have baseball. There ain't no point in me staying at Fox if I'm only gonna do football. I'm gonna go to ESPN where I can do football, and let's be honest, I can do any other sport I want because I'm Joe Buck, and that's the way that's gonna go. When you're the top name in the game, as much as we like to rip Joe Buck, he's the top name in the game. He can go to ESPN and do any sport he wants there. And
even if they were going to make more with Fox, you can make a little bit less with ESPN
and have a lot more fun.
More fun, more avenues,
and more freedom probably if you're Joe Buck to be like, okay, I get to just kind of live my life and get my he's at a point in his career where he just wants to be able to live his career and do his career the way he wants. Yes. Right. And I laughed when I saw that news the other day. I was like, dude, these guys on the inside, they know more than any of us. Right. And if that didn't tell you everything you need to know about the status of this baseball, and John just says it here, the bottom line is baseball in 2022 will not happen. It just might not. And I could, if the next step and the next thing that we see break is Joe Buck leaving Fox to go join Troy Aikman at ESPN, you can book it. I think you can book it right then at that very moment. Major League Baseball's in trouble for 2022.
Now you said the thing is on Monday. What happens if they don't come to agreement on Monday? Is that like the layover happens, or is that just like the next stage?
I mean, baseball seemed that, first of all, it's not like the players said, hey, if we don't get a deal by Monday, fuck off. That's what the owners tried to say. I think the players are going to laugh all the way to the bank and be like, okay, listen, like we told you guys, like you guys want to do this. Like, guess what? We can go play in Japan if we want to. Especially the guy like somebody that's making $30 million a year, like Max Scherzer's like, yo, bro, I got enough money saved up. I'm just like, fuck it, I ain't playing baseball this year. But these dudes that are bitching about, making a little bit of money, I'm only making a couple mil this year. Yeah, you can go to Japan and play there and make very similar money to what you're making here in America. Because if you're just even a little bit of a star here in America, you become a big time star in one of those leagues over there. So these guys will go play if they really want to play and get paid. But guess who can't go own a team in Japan just because, we don't have a major league season. So really it's the players, I think, that get the final laugh there if it really comes down to that.
Imagine the Japan having all these teams and they're like, oh shit, we got all these players. Let's make like 8 teams. And then we'll have like 2 teams play at the same
Japan baseball's tight too. I mean, another sport that's like that could really pick up steam in America. It wouldn't be that hard for it to do it. When you've got guys like Shohei Ohtani, obviously Ichiro came over from them like years and years ago. Hideki Matsui's come from there. So we got enough stars where we know what the league can produce. Could you imagine if there was like 2 or 3 teams over there that consisted of nothing but American players? Like you could almost imagine you could get enough. Like, oh, well, what happens if Major League Baseball dies? I don't know. You just form an American league, like a league full of American players in Japan, and you have one league. You've got one league that's nothing but Japanese players, and then another league that's nothing but American players. Ooh, that would be fun. Wouldn't that be awesome? Or you just let them all intersperse amongst the teams and say, okay, we're going to have all of a sudden, Japanese baseball becomes really fun when Mike Trout's hitting 500-foot home runs in the middle of Tokyo. Hey, that's pretty popping.
What was it for the first half? A couple of years ago, they were broadcasting the Japanese games. So when the pandemic was going on, there was Japanese baseball being played here at like 1 a.m. And let's be honest, we were staying up late, and not only were we watching it, but we were betting on it like the degenerate gamblers that we are, because we can't help ourselves. Nope. It's going to be the same thing in ESPN's, but it's going to be like calling Japanese baseball. Hey, you guys want to go on ESPN?
Joe Buck. That's Joe Buck. That's Joe Buck's next gig. You're going to see Joe Buck calling Japanese baseball from the studio in Bristol, Connecticut. Oh, man, it would be fucking brilliant.
Oh, my God. I'm looking forward to that. It's like him, like, here we go, the Japanese Baseball League.
And let's be honest, like, if we're kind of really getting out there like now, like big picture, but if like say worst case scenario, Major League Baseball as we know it dies, and you're like, damn, like baseball's dead. Yeah, for a little bit until some group of billionaires decides to start a brand new professional baseball league here in America, and that picks up steam or something. You know what I'm saying? Like there'll always be pro baseball here in America, but maybe what we need to get this to go in a positive direction, just like anything a lot of times in this world, is something's got to hit rock bottom and get as ugly as it possibly can before it ever gets fixed. And Major League Baseball is not far from there. There was a good comment earlier in our comment section where it talked about the 94 strike wounded baseball. This strike could very well kill it. It could be the death punch, the kill shot. Yeah, for Major League Baseball as we know it. But maybe that's a good thing long term. Maybe that's the best thing that could have ever happened to professional baseball is something like this.
For it to realize, hey, we need to do something to fix the game, because right now there's no game right now. Yeah, there's nothing right now. Like we're going.
First of all, I'll tell you what. Forget about college baseball, which like I said, we're all in agreement here. I think we'll all happily watch college baseball. AAU sports, and I talk about the travel baseball that I work down here. That there is big time money in travel sports of all kinds. AAU baseball, AAU basketball, all of it. You think that ESPN and these networks won't benefit off of that? And next thing you know, you're gonna be watching 14U, AAU baseball games or something on ESPN. They already broadcast the Little League World Series. If you don't think it's not hard for them to sign a deal with AAU to go and start all of a sudden broadcasting these AAU games and shit like that. Yeah, amateur athletics, my ass. We already know there's a ton of fucking money involved in the amateur athletics. That's what AAU stands for, like the Amateur Athletic Union, or whatever the hell it is. Yeah, amateur athletics, my ass. We already know that's a big money industry. And if you don't think that ESPN and networks like that are going to be like, yeah, we'll play the 16U AAU game. They already do that with basketball. Let's be honest. We already saw LeBron James's kid, playing on ESPN. AAU basketball. So what makes you think that they wouldn't do that with baseball or one of those other sports if they very well could and they knew it would make them money?
That's
the next step.
Crazy.
If Major League Baseball ends up in a position where they're not on TV, that's the next step. That's the things that you see. Japanese baseball, college baseball, things like AAU, all of that.
Yeah. I'm just done with it.
Wait, when did the Phillies finally start to fix the organization? Troy H. comment. It sucks that this happened when the Phillies finally started to fix their organization and farm system. When did that happen, Troy?
Maybe this is going to be the thing that helps them out because
it can't hurt it, right? You're like, okay,
they're like all these teams with these players, they're going to lose a year. So you know what? This is where we're starting.
Watch. I want Major League Baseball to die. That way, somebody like Derek Jeter with all of his billions, because Derek Jeter, the attention whore that he is, he'll fucking hook up with somebody else, and the new professional baseball league funded by Derek Jeter. You know what I mean? He'll be the face of this whole the brand new professional baseball league in this country, sort of thing. I would, that would be like damn sure, like that would be what happened. It'll be something along those lines. So I'm not too worried about it. As a matter of fact, I'm that guy. I know I'm not the only one that's kind of intrigued by what happens when these things crash and burn. I don't know what it is, but I'm so intrigued by the idea of I want it to crash and burn. Good. Let's see what happens if that's the case.
Just like you said, sometimes you got to crash and burn to realize the problems that you're having.
Even if it doesn't fix it, even if it doesn't fix it, I'm just going to enjoy watching it crash and burn. Like, ooh, that was fun. Pretty colors. Ooh, look. Ooh, look at that.
Wow.
Look at the explosion. Ooh, there it goes. Something blew up big.
Blue City Empire Sports just said Derek Jeter will be the new commissioner. Just imagine that. Right now, no one's going to be the commissioner because it's not going to matter.
Listen, as much as I rip Derek Jeter would be something that's what the sport needs more than any other sport. I think baseball really needs a baseball guy, somebody that's been there, done that, and been involved with the game for long enough to understand this is where we need to go. And somebody like Derek Jeter, who was not only in the game but the face of the game for a while, would be perfect. I've said this about a sport like NASCAR. You know what would really help NASCAR go to the next level from an exposure standpoint is if somebody like Dale Earnhardt Jr. or Jeff Gordon or one of those guys became the new president of NASCAR. That's what NASCAR needs, is a guy like Dale Jr. or Tony Stewart to be the public face of all.
Well, with NASCAR, you've seen them with all the commentators, play-by-play, and the shows. They've gotten all these Hall of Fame drivers that are actually working for NASCAR now, where it used to not be like that, and they're calling the action. Yeah.
Speaking of a sport that's understood its direction and is at least working very, very hard to say, hey, what is our identity? We need to find it, and we need to stick to it, and we need to really, really make a plan to build towards that and get it going in a direction where it's okay, this is what our identity is now, and this is what we're building towards. And they've done that now. The next gen car that they've just released, there's talks about other manufacturers like Honda and stuff like that getting involved with NASCAR. And as much as people are going to sit here and laugh, be like, NASCAR. Listen, I'll go watch a NASCAR race on Sunday and be very, very firmly entertained. A lot more entertained than I will watching a lot of Major League Baseball games.
They're making seriously. They're making improvements. They're trying to make the cars better. They're trying to get the feedback from the drivers. It's kind of back and forth with them. But this is just, okay, we need help here. And, of course, the commissioner and everybody else is like, we don't care. It's good as it is right now. We just added the DH. That should be good enough for you guys.
And just like that during the pandemic, when NASCAR became the first sport to return and kind of go back to doing everything, when you're the only sport on TV, people will watch. It's going to bring eyes to your sport that aren't usually there. And I know you saw the meme going around. We shared it with A2D. The Daytona 500 last weekend. had a 40% better TV rating than the NBA All-Star game that was going on at the same time. So, I mean, how much of a joke people want to make fun of NASCAR? NASCAR, not even a real sport. Really? Because, I mean, it got a 40% better TV rating than the NBA All-Star game. And I know people go, it's the All-Star game. Okay, well, 40% is a big number. Like, that's a huge fucking number to outrate somebody from a TV rating standpoint. We're not talking about the dunk contest that was fucking garbage. We're talking about the actual All-Star game where at least the All-Star game, they score like 300 combined points and, shit like that. You're like, all right, and we talk about a sport that's trying to do something, how fun was the All-Star with Team Durant and Team this, right? And you've got they've switched it up how many times over the past 10 years to try to make it be fresh and not get stale and not be something that people are bored of.
Like now they have the draft where they got the captains, they pick their teams. I like the game with the 3 players from each city. I like that one with the skills.
That was cool. Baseball needs more stuff like that.
Yeah.
Enough with the home run derby and then just the shitty. And the All-Star game, let's be honest, like the Major League Baseball, it's to a point where it's the dumbest thing ever for the All-Star game to decide home field advantage in a World Series. It's just so fucking stupid. Would the Major League Baseball All-Star game not be more fun if they could do something similar to what the NBA does? Like, okay, instead of American League, National League, here, Mike Trout, you're the captain for one side. Bryce Harper, you're the captain for the other. You guys pick players, and then you're mic'd up throughout the game so that, like, at least there's something that brings it to it where it's like, all right, this is what this. It's like a Sandlot game where you're just picking amongst the best players, and we're gonna pick sides and go at it and have a ton of fun. This idea of it's going to decide the All-Star, it's going to decide home field advantage in the World Series. And then at the same time, while it's supposed to decide home field advantage in the World Series, I've got Freddie Freeman talking mic'd up, doing his at-bat. You can't have it both. It can't be something that's supposed to be serious enough where it's deciding home field advantage in the World Series, but also not serious enough where you want me to speak to you and be mic'd up throughout the course of my at-bat. You got pick one. You can't have it. You can't have both. Like it's again identity. What are you? They don't even fucking know. They can't even decide what they want the All-Star game to be. Do you want it to be an entertainment spectacle, or do you want it to be something serious enough where it's going to decide who gets to have home field in Game 7? You don't even know what the fuck you want it to be.
Yeah, but I know we can talk about this all day and just criticize.
MLB
and Rob Manfred.
You could really talk for a whole week about this, Daniel.
Yeah, but how about we transition over to the next topic, which is James Harden's debut.
James Harden, I mean, really the only exciting thing going on, I guess, like in Philly sports right now. The Flyers suck. We don't even have the Phillies. We've got the Eagles fan base still fighting over what direction we should go with the quarterback. The only thing where you're like, "Ooh, this is awesome! I can watch in peace and not have to worry about diddly poo," is the Sixers. And I mean, I think we were all excited about the Harden trade, but good Lord, that debut that couldn't have gone any better the other night.
Yeah, the first couple of minutes, it was kind of meh, but then once they got going, and then like he came out, and I thought the best was the meme, which was James Harden has tied Ben Simmons' 3-point mark with the Sixers in his first game.
Simmons is still. Do you see today that Simmons apparently his back is sore? He's got back soreness that needs further treatment. He doesn't want to play in the March 10th game. He's like, that's like, all right, like, oh, my back hurts until after March 10th. It'll be amazing how good it feels come March 11th. But
And then did you see once they brought in Andre Drummond, the Nets benched Blake Griffin, so now he only plays like 9 minutes a game or 9-10 minutes a game. So now Drummond and Curry are starting, and Durant hasn't come back. Simmons is nowhere near. Irvin only plays
when they're not in New York.
When they're not in New York, which is just great. And they're only like 2 games from 500. So it's like there's a chance that they might not even make the playoffs because of that 7, 8, 9, 10 thing right at the end of the season. They could get beat by one of those teams and be out.
As always,
Yeah.
Everything here on A2D and on the weekly roundup brought to you by Alan Foy and eXp Realty LLC. Looking to buy or sell a home, looking for a change of career brokerage, you contact Alan at eXp Realty LLC, 302-682-8820. Visit him at alan.foy@exprealty.com. Alan would be good to come on. He's coaching up his Bordentown basketball team as their season winds down. But he would be good, somebody good to bring on to talk about this. He would love this. And he loves talking about players and mindsets and attitudes and things like that. Ben Simmons is a guy that's so soft. It drives a coach like him crazy. I think a guy like Harden drives him nuts too. But at least Harden, you're out here giving me effort and you're playing and helping me win. So you'll deal with the you'll deal with his prima donna mindset sometimes, because he's another one that could be a prima donna. But he's only a prima donna when he wants to be. If he's happy in a situation, he balls out. As soon as he's unhappy, he's like, "Fuck you, I'm James Harden." But
as soon as he gets mad,
sometimes you get to a point where you've earned that status, and he's probably as close to that point in this league as you can get.
Yeah, but like I said, when he gets mad, he puts on the fat suit, and then when he's not mad, all of a sudden he's skinny again. Like you look at him,
it's like Martin Lawrence in Big Mama's house.
But did you see what the players said? The players put out like a thing after the game, and they were saying, playing with James Harden, that they didn't realize how wide open that they were getting until he was passing them the ball. And they were so shocked at how open that they got that they didn't shoot right away, that they had to like, oh my God. And then they took a second and then they would shoot it. So they're like, it's something that they have to get used to, getting wide open faster and not having that 5-on-4 with Ben Simmons always being wide open. Now you're going to have everybody being covered one-on-one. It's going to make things easier for Maxey driving the ball. Embiid's going to have that one-on-one in the post. James Harden's just going to move around, making shots. And they're just going to do a lot better. They showed it once the first quarter hit. They got going, and they're hitting those three-point shots, and they decisively won that game. Like, people can be like, yes, it's one game and they're playing the Minnesota Timberwolves, but this is a type of game that usually we might struggle to win by 5 or lose the lead. But in this game, we kept the lead, and then we made it in the fourth, and we made the lead even longer. Like, the lead was like 15, and we made it 25 by the end of the game. So we did the opposite of what we usually do, which is what I want to see. And when people start noticing how wide open they get with the Harden passing the ball, and they're fluidly shooting with it, and they're getting used to him, they might even look even better. The only critique I would give is maybe the defense, and that's very marginal to me with how they're shooting now.
Can you still hear me?
I can hear you now.
Good. I mean, I'm checking some scores real quick, so if I go out, that's what it is. I'll be back in 1 second. But, yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about the defense. You didn't make this trade with Harden worried about defense. That wasn't a part of any of this. And, I mean, you've got your defensive guy. Let's be honest. We know what Matisse Thybulle's role is on this team now, and that's to be the elite defender that he is and that he can be.
And they got him rolled in the starting lineup now for that reason. And you got the lineup. You got Maxey, you got Harden, Thybulle, Harris, and then Embiid. That's your starting lineup. I did like the pickup of Roy Cauley-Stein as like a backup center. I'm excited to see how he does coming off the bench, because he's pretty decent with like rebounding and blocks. So he's going to be like a poor man's Andre Drummond, but he can shoot from the foul line better, which is good, which Andre Drummond didn't do well. So it's like we just need to add a couple more pieces, but I do feel like we're definitely with Harden, if he keeps how he did last night, we're definitely should be one of the favorites to make it to the finals.
Yeah, I think you've got to be the favorite to make it to the finals now. And really, when you look at it, it's finals or bust at this point. Like, this is the move that if this don't get you up over the hump, nothing will. And, I mean, for Doc Rivers, it's like, dude, what am I paying you for if you're not going to go win it with this group? What the hell's the point? Again, I could pay Sam Cassell to probably take me just as far in the playoffs as you are right now. So go make it happen. You want to, would you ask Pop that question? Or then don't ask me that question. I've earned it. No, Pop's got a few more rings that is, yeah, there's kind of, he's got a whole handful, right? He's got like every finger on one hand for Pop has, there's 5, one for each finger. So, yeah. And to be honest, you can make arguments that Doc Rivers has had just as good as teams as Pop had in all those years, but Pop won and made it happen and actually got the job done, and Doc hasn't. So, it's do or die this year. This is I don't want to hear, we made a run and great, now next year. No, it's not. Fuck next year. This year.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already wasted enough of Embiid's prime years. Like, how many more years do you have with Embiid playing at this level?
We got
count on it. Well, Maxi's a guy that's going to continue to come into his own, but Harden, I mean, your window is now. Harden's not getting any younger. Embiid, his knees could go at any time, right? Like his back could blow out at any point. You've got to capitalize now. Yeah. And who else? And when you look around the East, who else is so good? Who else is in the East where you're like, man, them? Nobody. That's you now. You're now the team that people go look at and go, damn, don't want to play them. Fuck, they're talented.
We were 2 games back of the Bulls and the Heat before Harden. Now we have Harden. So we should be able to make up that 2 games, get to that 1 seed, and then have that home court advantage. We should be able to easily have that and then go through the playoffs as long as we can keep the cohesion. And I don't see us taking a step back. I saw this game and I'm like, it was very marginal, but Harden made Maxey look better because Maxey got open more and he was able to get 20+ points from it. He got 20+ points. We got 20+ points from Harden, and then we got the usual that we got from Embiid. And I felt like Embiid didn't have to do system overload where he had to have 44 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 assists. He didn't have to do that. I felt like he had an easier game because of Harden being there. And then Harden made it easier for Maxey. So it was and then we take the limelight out of Tobias Harris, who had a decent game, nothing special, but he had a decent game. But now the pressure is off of Tobias, where he's not the second option now. He just got knocked down from 2 to 4 now. So there's less pressure off of him, and he could just go out there and produce and not have to worry about all that stuff because we got Harden, Maxey, and Embiid in front of him.
Yeah, it's it seems like it's the perfect mix of guys. At this point, as far as just chemistry, as far as how the guys play with each other on the court. This trade, I mean, we thought, okay, it'll take them a little bit to gel. Fuck that. What did it take? A quarter? You know what I'm saying? It's so crazy how good. It's like they were all meant to play together. This, now you're almost damn, why didn't we make this trade happen last off season? When we were talking about it then, and it was such a sexy, conversation.
Well, I thought the big thing, which I thought went in their advantage, was the fact that we traded for him. He didn't play right away. He basically came here for a week or 2. Plus, he had the All-Star break. He got to practice with the team longer than just, say, 1 day. He had a full week and a half to practice with the team, get to know the players, and they could get to know him. And I thought that was even better. We won the 2 games that we had before the break without him. Got this. It was a calculated thing. I thought they were talking about, he had to get his physical, and then he's dealing with this minor injury. I thought that was just quote for, we want to get him practice time with the team. We're not worried about getting him in right before the All-Star break. I thought that was just them giving an excuse just to appease the fans. But it worked out. He got the practice time. He got to work out with the team, and the team knows him now. So they get to work with him and get to know where he's passing the ball, what his tendencies are. Those 2 weeks compared to a day, is valuable for a team like this that is looking to go to the finals.
Let me put on the stadium series since I'm down here in Tampa, and I'm pretty much a Lightning fan because let's be honest.
Yeah, Troy said, yeah, I don't want a Dame or Beer after getting Harden. I'm happy with what we got. I agree with that. Dame is coming in. He might not even come back. And Beal isn't coming back as well because of his injury. So they're not going to be able to help us now. It's going to be a future thing if we were going after them. And I like Maxi's progression with this game to where he can be the point guard from now on. We don't need a Beal or Dame. Like we got Maxi at a great salary right now. Harden is the guy that can come up, bring the ball up and pass, and be more of the shooting guard / passing guard that we have right now. We lost Zach, so he should be coming back. But I like what I've seen from the Sixers team in retrospect, just in one game. They're a lot funner to watch. It's more balanced of a team scoring wise, and we were winning with Embiid being the main guy, the juggling a lot of the role. Like 80% of the offense went through him. I think now it's cut down. Now you're going to see more from Harden and Maxi scoring, helping him out, like just maintenance wise. You might see Embiid sit here and there before the playoffs because he is your main guy. He is the MVP. So you need him to be ready. And Harden allows him to just take a step back from time to time. If Harden's hot from range and he's scoring, and he can just get his 15 and 10, 20 and 10 while he's doing that. And I feel like they can still win because of it. Troy just said, please no more Firkin. He's not going to see as much time. He's still going to see like 10 minutes a game, I think. But he won't see the starting time that he was before. We got a starting 5 right now. That is set. We won't have to worry about it anytime soon unless somebody gets hurt. He's just a bench piece at the end that we were going to bring on every now and then just because of his consistency here and there. Sometimes he's hot, sometimes he's not, but he can definitely shoot from 3 and come in, and he has the experience. So he's just a guy to add to the end of the bench. Like we can go like 8, 9 deep right now, even more. Anybody have any thoughts or more on James Harden, his debut? Ted said, am I the only one who cares that the Z-Men's special day? There we go, Zach. Are you good?
I've been sitting in the back for 5 minutes. I don't know what Jesus. I was like, Frank, I don't know, does he fall asleep at the wheel or something over there? I put the Baylor-Kansas game on. That's a good game.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. 35-32 Baylor. Kansas was up by a point as they at the half, but the game's in Baylor. Number 5 Kansas against number 10 Baylor.
Yeah.
I mean, you just knew this was going to be a phenomenal matchup from the beginning. So, yeah.
Troy Brennan in the comment, please no more Firkin.
Oh, well, yeah, you know how that's what I was like. Yeah. I was hoping Frank was going to add me back right at that moment, since
exactly.
I'm the world's biggest Firkin Korkmaz hater. When people brought up, I remember we trading Simmons and Thibault. They're like, oh, now Firkin can get more play time. I was like, no, please, for the love of God, fucking Firkin, fucking fuck. God makes me want to kill myself every time. I've never seen somebody he drives me crazier than Dario Saric used to fucking drive me, and that was pretty insane.
He'll be on. He'll make 3 straight threes, or he'll be off where he'll do.
Yeah, but forget about the 3 straight threes, and then somebody throws in the ball and he goes to dribble, and it's he falls to the ground and like
Yeah.
loses the ball. And I was like, dude, that was the most embarrassing thing ever. Like, you didn't even get it stripped from you. Like, you tried to dribble and it looked like you tripped and fell over somebody's foot and went to the ground.
Yeah.
It's like nothing he does with grace. Everything is just so ugly. Even when he's making shots, it's ugly. Like,
But I said it like before. I was like, he's at a perfect spot in the lineup where he gets like 10, 15 minutes, and like he scores maybe 5 to 10 points and only shoots 4 times. I'm perfect with that because at least I know he'll make 1 or 2 shots, but then I won't have to worry about anything else. He just comes in, he gives somebody like a couple minutes of rest, and then boom. He's
right. That's what his
6,
role
7,
needs
8,
to be.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
And that role is not bad when you're that 9th or 10th guy, sure. But people saying, oh, he's going to get more playing time now. No, please. No, he needs to be at the back of my bench.
No. I think from the game, he was the second guy off the bench, so he was the number 7 guy.
See, I don't need that. Yeah, I don't need that.
But it's like Green, Birkin, Georges Nan, Millsap, Nixon, and Coley Stein and Joe. And Coley Stein's going to see more time.
Yeah, Coley Stein and Millsap aren't going to play more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Korkmaz is going to play more than them. I'd say, I mean, Niang needs to, like, it shouldn't be Danny Green, Matisse Thybulle, and Niang or whatever, whatever your rotation is there. Korkmaz can't be the 8th or 9th guy as opposed to having to be number 7. I mean, I guess you can live with them at number 8, the 8th man off your bench. I mean, 6 and 7 are really your top, bench guys, and then 8 and on back is just kind of a depth piece, right? Like number 8, that's kind of like the first depth piece where you're like, okay, now I just need a guy to steal some minutes, go out there and give me 10 minutes because so and so needs a breather, sort of thing. Yeah, and you hope to get a good run out of him. But if you're a good team, you're going to be 8 deep at the most. Guys 9 and 10 and 11 and 12 aren't really playing unless you've got a big lead or you're getting blown out or something like that.
Yeah, and I think we even because there's a couple guys, of course, that didn't play. Like Paul Reed didn't play because of Coley Stein, and Coley Stein's just getting to learn the team.
Yeah, he's got a 10-day contract.
Yeah, 10-day contract, and he just signed yesterday. Well, not yesterday, the day before the game. So it's like he got maybe 1 practice in, not even. So it's like, and he still played over Reed. So I see him as a guy. He might be the second guy off the bench. I think they're going to try and limit the minutes that Embiid has the rest of the regular season. I think they're going to try and do that, and Harden allows them to. Harden only shot the ball 12 times, and he had over 20 points. If you look at it, usually
which is good because Harden's usually a guy taking like 30 shots.
Like usually Embiid has over 20. Embiid had 18 and Maxey had 16 shots, and then Harden had 12. And so it's like
I might try to, I might use times like this to try to experiment with maybe a smaller lineup. Why couldn't you go, Maxey, Harden, Niang, Thybulle, and Korkmaz all on the floor together or something like that, and just see what comes of it. Because Thybulle is capable of probably defending 3 different positions or so. Obviously you couldn't do that against teams with elite big men, but you could get away with teams that have elite guard play and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
If you look
against a team like the Nets, you could get away with that all fucking night.
But if you look at the team yesterday, look at Thybulle. He had 11.7 rebounds. He usually doesn't have that much stat line.
If Thybulle's going to give you something like that, I mean,
but that's just because
of your most valuable players.
But that's just because of how wide open he gets, because you got guys like Embiid in the middle. Harden is going around the perimeter because he can shoot, and then Maxey drives the lane. You don't have that double team anymore, and so it's going to be like man, and Thybulle isn't going to be the first, second, third guy that the team
was
worried about.
Pass.
So it's like he's going to get those easy buckets from Harden, where Harden just goes in and looks for Thybulle, and he gets an easy bucket here and there, and he's going to get the rebounds and the blocks and steals. So it's like it's something good to if it gets him going. Because if you imagine if he could, like, on a nightly basis, he gets 11 and 6. I'm fine if Thibault gets 10-5. I'd be ecstatic if that's what he got.
I don't care if he scores at all. I just need him to shut down the other team's best scorer. I mean, at this point, that's really what he's got to do. He's got to say, okay, that's the other team's best scorer. Good, he's mine tonight. Like, I've got to slow him down. I've got to make him have an off night, which he does a great job of. We've seen him do that all year, where he's made guys have off nights. If that can be his role, where he's that disruptive defensive player, like, I don't want to say Dennis Rodman type, because that's, obviously Dennis Rodman was his own type of player, but that type of disrupt, like a guy that's going to frustrate the other team defensively, right? He plays good enough defense and can do enough things defensively where he can just really irritate you and frustrate you when you're a good offensive player. Not only can he slow you down, but he can really frustrate you and make you go, damn, this guy, fuck, what do I got to do to score against him, sort of thing. Which I like. That I love that guy that's kind of like, irritating the shit out of the other team's, one of the other team's best scorers with whatever tactics it is. That's why I used to love Lance Stevenson. I don't know. Lance Stevenson was never really a good player, but I'll tell you what, boy, could he piss you off and get in your head. Nothing was better than watching LeBron get triggered because Lance Stevenson blew on his ears.
And Harden had the same amount of assists and he did shots. He had 12 shots, but he had 12 assists. Yeah,
he's an underrated facilitator. He's always been a facilitator. I averaged a double-double or whatever.
Yeah, like 1 year. I think he's going to allow Maxey to just focus on shooting, because I think before Maxey was like,
and he's somebody, be a playmaker. Maxey was more kind of the guy that had to try to create.
Yeah, and
now he doesn't have to do that so much.
Like, he can create a little bit, but now Harden can be the one that creates it for him. He can look for Maxey, Maxey can hit those wide open shots that he wasn't seeing before. Because, like I said, you got that pecking order. Like, worry about Embiid, then worry about Harden when you're dealing with the Sixers. Now Maxey can come in. He primarily is the third guy, but he scored 28 points. He was number 2 on the team because Harden saw that he was scoring and he was being better with shooting. Harden was doing better at driving and getting the fouls. That's going to be another thing that we get used to too, getting to the foul line. Embiid gets the foul line 10 plus times, and then Harden gets the foul line a lot too. He gets the calls. So we're going to get those free buckets. He shot the ball 12 times. He's 7 for 12. But he made, I think, 7 or 8 from the line. So it's like, that's why he got over 20 points, was because he got to the line enough times to get those easy buckets. So it's going to be,
I think, playing the Spurs, and I can't believe the game's not on my TV. I'm actually kind of mad.
You said the Heat and the Spurs? Oh, yeah.
The Heat are playing the Spurs.
Yeah, it's a halftime.
And I'm down here in Florida. Yeah, it's at halftime. I know the Heat will win it. I got money on the Heat, but I'm like trying to at least find the stupid game. Instead, they got the fucking, who they got playing down here for? They got Brooklyn against Milwaukee on ABC. Why is Brooklyn get primetime slots?
And then Kyrie's
Why is Brooklyn getting a primetime slot? Durant's not even playing.
Yeah,
it's not even like they have Durant.
Kyrie's playing and they're losing. So they lose here, they're going to drop even more. Right now, they only have a game and a half up on the Hornets. I could see a scenario I feel like right now, if they don't get Ben Simmons back and say Durant doesn't come back, I could see the Hornets eliminating them. It's that situation where the Nets are just
Brooklyn. They might not have a choice but to try to just blow the fuck up out of everything this offseason. Durant and Kyrie. I mean, you got to do something to try to get some of those picks back. I mean, you just absolutely fucked yourself with the Harden trade, and then it blew up so badly and poorly in your face. It was just such, an awful, oh man, this couldn't have gone any worse. They got to try to do something to recoup shit. I mean,
and then Drummond's only this season. Drummond was just 1 year deal, so that's why, in hindsight, I wanted to keep him, but now I'm like, we didn't have him past the season, so it kind of worked out. And then they only have Steph Curry past next season unless they resign him. They're not going to do that. You don't know
And
what's
even
going to
that,
happen.
it's like, what is Seth Curry?
Yeah.
I mean, they might re-sign a guy like Seth Curry because, again, he'll be cheap enough for them to re-sign. But it's like the run that they were supposed to make was supposed to be Harden, Durant, and Irving together, and it just didn't work. So what are you going to do right now? Go try to like attract another free agent to come here or something? Like what it's just it's one of those things. Like it's almost like they have no choice now but to be like, damn, that was fucked. What a terrible idea that was. And just do what you can to blow it up. So that's one less team that you're probably worried about going forward next year or whatever it might be. Come playoff time. I mean, you roll with your probably 8 best players, a 9-man rotation. Fuck a rotation. Yeah.
Look, I'm not too scared about the Heat because I haven't seen them as a whole play. They're winning, but I feel like we could beat them. I'm more scared about the Bulls when they get like Ball and Caruso back because I like that lineup as a full, like with like a Ball, Caruso, DeRozan. It has been playing lights out. You got Vukovic. You got players like that. Like that team could be scary. But we've had their hand. We've had their hand with MB the past few years. It's like the teams that we thought were going to be our competition going into the playoffs. I don't feel like they are. But then again, it's like we talk about Milwaukee, and I'm like, Milwaukee once again flying under the radar. They could be that team. They could be that
but
team.
They're not. But you're not necessarily afraid of them the way they were. Like last year was the year where they kind of had all that, all that sex appeal to them. They're a good team now, but you're not like scared of them.
No, but I that's not a team that I would want to play round 2. I'd be okay.
Sure. You never want to play a team that knows how to get it done, right? They know what it takes to go win a championship. So
I want to see us move to 1, then move to 2, then not have to see them until like the Eastern Conference Finals. But right now they're the 4, we're the 3. So it's like we need to move up to 1 and make sure that they move up because to me they're the biggest threat. That's to me is Milwaukee because since they've already run it. And because no one's talking about them, that's the biggest thing that scares me is the fact that when you have the defending champion who are playing good right now and no one's talking about them, that's the
and they have a big man that can match up.
Exactly.
We always talk about Embiid, and it's like, oh, how dominant it is. And Milwaukee's one of the few teams that has a big man that can really match up with him. And that'd be a hell of a series. You almost want to see it now, don't you? You almost like, hey, you kind of want to see Philly and Milwaukee for the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, and I think that's why we got Harden because we wanted that extra piece because you think of them, they got Giannis, they got Middleton, and then they got Holiday. We only had Maxey and Embiid, and Maxey.
And I think Maxey's better than Holiday at this point.
Yeah. Well, I think Harden being on the team,
and Harden's definitely better than Middleton still.
Yeah. So, like he said, the next starter was the 2K with the roster. Yeah, that's funny. But
I'll tell you what. You know what's funny to me is about this trade. We all like play old video games and stuff. Like I've got the Xbox 360, and it makes me laugh because I just was talking with the wifey the other day about how old I am. Like the 360 came out in like 2005, and I'm over here still playing it. That's like growing up in the 90s and still playing the original NES and stuff from the 80s. Like it's almost at that level. And I'm playing the first Jay-Z game, NBA 2K13 or whatever it is. And that's the offseason that Harden got traded from the Thunder to the Rockets. So and like 2 years ago when I first bought the game, I redid the whole thing. Instead of having him get traded to the Rockets, I had him get traded to the Sixers. And I had the Sixers make a trade where they traded like Evan Turner, and like Thaddeus Young and like a couple of like first round picks and like one other guy to the Thunder at the time to get Harden. And and so Harden ends up in the game like playing for the Sixers, like teaming up with that is like funny, like I made a trade for James Harden, just kind of like play like a fantasy type thing to have fun with and be able to play in the game. And like, oh, look at me balling out with James Harden with the Sixers. And now here we are in real life, and it's actually happened. And now, I'm not real sure what to think of the situation because, it's almost kind of too like ironic or too much of a coincidence. I don't even know what the right word is to sit here and be like, I did this in the video game like 2 years ago, and now we actually have this shit happening in real life.
And we might actually, with how this is, we might actually have that scenario where it could be first round Sixers Nets with how it is, because if we can get up to the one, like I kind of want to see
JJ
that.
Redick. Well, hold on. What? JJ Redick. We need to get JJ Redick back.
If he could shoot, and we don't have to pay him that much, I wouldn't mind it. Like that, like what the Rams did with Eric Weddle, where he just came off the bench, the couch, and played for him in the playoffs as like a bench role. Like if he could still shoot, like which I think he could, I wouldn't mind it. But I'm not breaking the bank to bring him in, and I'm not playing him heavy minutes. Just a guy off the bench. That would be it, you know. And Don said, "I hope Doc doesn't do the 9-man
bringing him off
rotation."
the bench. The fuck?
Yeah,
What is
he said?
I'll bring JJ Redick in to be a new assistant coach.
Yeah.
JJ Redick's going to be the next dude to get hired to be an NBA head coach with like no coaching experience. You know, will be Steve Nash in a couple years.
Yeah, and then Don put in, I hope Doc doesn't do the 9-man rotation in the playoffs. I don't mind the 9-man rotation as long as they play good off the bench. As long as they play good off the bench. If they're not playing well, then of course you want to cut it down to like 7 or 8. But I'm okay with like 8 or 9 as long as we get the production out of it, because you don't want to get to the point where you're relying too much on the starting 5, then maybe like the 6th man. You want to get a little bit more out of your roster.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like I said, I don't need to have a 9-man rotation if I'm playing Milwaukee and I need my 6 best guys, 7 best guys getting the bulk of every all the time, because I know that's what's going to make me match up best with them. If there's ever a time for Embiid to play 48 minutes, it's then. Harden, ever a time for you to play 48 minutes, it'd be then. I don't know. I kind of disagree. I don't need to see 9. I don't need to see a 9-man rotation in the playoffs, at least like a consistent 9-man rotation.
Yeah.
You might have a game or two where you're like, okay, you needed it because you got in foul trouble or whatever. So some guys get some extra playing time that otherwise. But I don't need it to be a consistent 9-man rotation the way Doc seems to want to be operating it right now.
So what would you say? Like maybe 7, 8-man rotation?
Yeah. It comes to playoffs. I'm a fan of like my best 7, and then obviously you've got like the 8th guy. He's kind of the guy that's like, all right, like you're coming in to give me some minutes when Embiid really needs a breather, or because this guy got in foul trouble or whatever. But the back end of your bench doesn't see that. They don't see the court like come to playoff time. You know what I mean? They just don't.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. So like, I feel like those like depending on how Willie Cauley-Stein does, I feel like maybe like I feel like Danny Green's the 6th man right now. That's how I feel like, and with how they're using him now. I feel like you got him. But then again, it's like you got him, but then you got like guys like Millsap, Cauley-Stein, Shake Milton. Like they could go 9 deep if those players play, because you got 2 forwards that rebound at different positions, but then you got 2 guys that score as well. So it's like that do different things. So you might not use Paul Millsap some days, or you might not use Willie Cauley-Stein.
Yeah, I mean, is he even like? What I mean, he was good like 6 years ago. 5 years ago. I'm not even sure. Like, the Paul Millsap, like, is he not just like sitting at the end of the bench, like like collecting a paycheck? Hey, like, Paul, you want some playing time? Like, no, I'm good, coach. Like, I feel like that's his role on the team. He's like, what do you
I'm
playing
good.
time?
I just want you guys to win.
I didn't come over here to play.
Yeah, he only played 12 minutes, had 3 rebounds, 3 points, 2 rebounds. So it's like who knows if he even plays come that time, if Cauley-Stein gets, because that's what Cauley-Stein only had one day between signing and playing. So it's like, but maybe he just does that small role. Like that's how the end of the bench is. Like you only get just a little bit just to give a guy a breather for a couple of minutes. I see it as it is. So I'm okay with the 7 or 8. Like, I would like it to be 9. I would like the guys to make it to the point where they could be like easily considerable off the bench. We could play 9, less use of the starting 5. But like you said, I'm fine perfectly with 7, 8.
I don't need to force there to be a certain number in my rotation. That's why I was like, oh, well, please don't give me the 9-man rotation. Like, I don't want that to be a thing because Doc's like, oh, well, that's what we do. We play a 9-man rotation. Well, you don't have to play a 9-man rotation just because that's what we do. Well, do something fucking different in the playoffs then, Doc. What the fuck are you talking about? I don't need you to force a 9-man rotation against Milwaukee if that means that my 9-man rotation is causing me to get my ass kicked whenever freaking Korkmaz spent. Like, I don't need it. Like, the fuck? Like, just give me my top 7, then, and I roll with it. And it is what it is.
And just like Blue City Empire Sports said, can the Sixers please just get past the second round this year? We don't need to get eliminated in the second round once again.
I don't need to hear from Doc. Like, I don't need to hear from Doc, which I feel like I'm going to hear from Doc come playoff time when freaking Korkmaz played 20 minutes for no fucking reason and had like 5 turnovers and was like 0 for 6 from 3 or something. You know, and you're like, wait, why was freaking on the floor for so much time tonight? Oh, it gives you some bullshit answer about because they were 9 deep and this guy wanted to get this guy some and you're just like, Doc, like, I'm not stupid. Like, you're patronizing me right now. It was dumb and there was no excuse for it. He didn't play well, and now you don't want to that was a poor decision. So you got to come over here and feed me some bullshit, or you'll just deflect it. Like, you know what? You would make Pop explain why he played that guy this many minutes. Yeah. So I don't want to hear. I feel like I'm going to get that, and I don't need that. So that's what's my point of like, fuck a 9-man rotation. I don't fucking need it. Yeah. Who's your best 7 guys? Who's your best 7, Daniel, on this team? Who's your best 7? Like, in your opinion, who's your best 7?
Right now, I think it's of course the starting 5. I think Danny Green, just because I feel like his 3-point shooting is what makes him valuable. It does a little bit. And then I hate to say it right now because I don't know what to expect from Roy Cauley-Stein. I want it to be Roy Cauley-Stein, but right now it's Shake Milton. But I want to see something.
Shake's a guy I think that could do more for you.
Yeah.
Than like if Shake Milton's on the quick, like, okay, good. Like, you need another guard that can come out and actually ball handle and create and do things like that. For when Maxey or Harden aren't on the floor. So Shake Milton probably should be the 7. And I mean, who's your 8? I'm even probably cool with a guy like Paul.
Paul Reed.
Paul Reed, like seeing playing time off the floor, on the floor of a guy like freaking Korkmaz.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I think that's why they brought in Cauley-Stein. I feel like they're trying to see, with how good he's been in the past, if he can be that 6'7" guy, the rebounder coming off the bench. Because you got a lot. They have a lot of rebounding just in the starting 5, but they need that rebounder that you can count on to come off the bench for a couple of minutes, just get the rebounds. That's it. Play a little defense with the blocks and whatnot, and that fits Cauley-Stein's game to a T. And I feel like as he gets going, maybe we'll see that. But if not, we might see a little bit more Shake Milton in that 7 spot, and then whoever can rebound that day will be 8. But other than that, I think it's a good time to move on since we're running out of time today. Let's move on to the next thing. Let's talk about, of course, the Eric Bieniemy situation.
So I knew we had something else on the dot, and I was like I'm over thinking. I'm like, I know there's one other thing we wanted to talk about, and it wasn't the Flyers because I was like, I'm going to make sure that we're not spending 20 minutes on the Flyers. Ain't happening.
No, they're
not even worth. They're not even worth 20 minutes.
No.
They're not worth 20 seconds right now.
Definitely not.
Here comes one of the Flyers apologists into the chat room to probably tell me how they beat the Capitals tonight now. Giroux looked good.
They missed the perfect opportunity to trade Claude Giroux when he got MVP of the All-Star game. It would have been the same.
And what a weird press conference.
Yeah.
Like, what a weird press conference. Like what that would be, it's like, what a giant tease
Yeah.
Press conference, like, oh, he's getting traded, and he's like, I'm committed to helping this team win. You're like, what? We
it's
needed a
just like
press conference for this?
it would have been the same scenario just like when we had Cole Hammer see through the no hitter, and we're like, oh my god, let's get him for the as highest price as we can right there. That's what it would have been here. He got the All-Star Game MVP. You go shop him out. You're like, he's there. He's there. He was just MVP. Take the biggest trade offer that you got and get rid of him, because now you're not going to get anything, because I believe his contract's up after this year. So you're just going to let him go when you could have got something for him.
Yeah. I don't know. What are you really getting for him, though? Especially, I mean, at the deadline, here's my thing. This is why I said years ago, they should have traded Giroux years ago, because here's the position you were going to be in if you traded him at the deadline. He's got half a year left on his contract with no guarantee to resign where he goes. You're not really getting. It's not like he's a good player, but he's not superstar level where he's bringing you something back so sexy where you're like, wow.
No. I'm not saying that. You could have gotten a player that maybe you could have used in the future. Whereas you're not getting anything now.
Yeah, but like what, like a fringe prospect who you're hoping, a couple fringe prospects, and if one of them turns into a solid NHL player, you're happy about it, sort of thing. But
at least that's better than what you're going to get now, is what I'm saying.
I guess, yeah, but at the same time, I think it's one of those things where he's been here for so long, and it's not like he's just been here. He's also ridden through this with some really bad teams at times, or just some really shitty situations where you're like, the fuck is going on? And maybe he's like, no, I don't want to be traded. Like, can I please like ride this out and go be a free agent? Like, for the love of God, like, I don't want to be traded. Because you feel like there's no way you schedule a press conference like that and like that had the writing on the wall. They were going to now tell you maybe we're going to try to move on from him and see what we can get. And then he nixed it at the last second and said, no, I don't want that. Like, I want to at least ride this contract out here, and let's have, like, at least if anything, Philly will be, they'll treat me nice and don't give me a going away party here on the way out. We suck. We're not going anywhere. They know it, but they'll treat me nice and give me a little bit of a going away party as my time comes to an end. Kind of like what we did with Pat Burrell there at the end, right? And luckily we got the win a World Series in his final year. But everybody knew that 08 season was going to be his last one with us. And it was like one of those things where, like, as much of a hard time as we gave the guy over the years, you really wanted to give him the proper send-off, regardless of what the outcome of that season was going to be. Yeah,
because we're likely going to gut the team, got the veterans from the team in the off season.
And Pat Burrell was a guy that, a lot like Giroux, you're talking about 2005-ish, 2006-ish, 2007. It seemed like every offseason his name would come up in trade discussions for, can they trade Pat Burrell to go get themselves a top of the rotation arm sort of thing? Or, he was always a guy that his name would be in trade conversations, and then you'd never make a move with him. And then it seemed like it just finally got to a point where you're like, fuck making a move. You know what?
And then we just did this.
I would love if he was a lot of other things outside of what he is, but when you look at Pat Burrell and you look at what his production was for you in left field, guys that can hit over 260 and hit you 30-plus home runs and drive you in over 100 runs and do it consistently every year for you in left field, it's a pretty damn solid player.
And it really is. And all we did was we just brought in Eric Bluntlet. He'd come in for left field in the seventh inning as the defensive
not just Bluntlet. Charlie figured that out when Charlie got here in 05. He used to do that. It was Endy Chavez, right? Endy Chavez would be the guy initially, and then it seemed like Jason Worth and Victorino or Michael Bourne. It'd always be one of those guys, and then it got to where it was Eric Bluntlet. It was always somebody, though. It seemed like that. Like, initially, Pat was unhappy about that. They talked about that recently when they all got together for their little reunion or whatever on Comcast Sports. They brought them all together, and I remember, like, Pat used to want to fight me and stuff, like in the office and stuff after games, because he would be mad that I took him out in like the seventh inning or eighth inning of games for defensive replacements. But he's like, we eventually got on the same page, and it was about hey, this is what's best for the team, and that I used to always say about Pat Burrell. People used to rip him. Like, you ask people like Jason Stark and people like that used to follow the team, the insiders that were in that locker room, in that clubhouse every day, they'll tell you how great of a leader Pat Burrell was. Like, Pat Burrell is the type of guy that you need in your clubhouse if you wanted to win championships. He's just that type of hard-nosed, blue-collar guy. A lot of guys, when he had that 03 season where he just really struggled and hit 209, and remember it was coming off that big year in 02 where he hit 37 homers, and it looked like he was going to be like, a superstar that affected things or whatever, but he just had such an awful year in 03. Then he bounced back. And when you think about how he bounced back after that year in 03, had a pretty good 04, got hurt, but had a pretty good 04. 05, he hit like 282 and hit like 33 homers and had like 120 something RBIs. You're like, that's a phenomenal year in left field. You know, like that 03 season would have ruined a lot of players, especially in a city like Philadelphia, where we just gave him so much hell that year because we expected so much.
A lot.
And that's what we do in this city when we expect a lot from you. But Pat Burrell, being the professional that he is, being the great leader that he is, being the guy that he is, fought through that, grinded, showed up early to spring training the next year, and bounced back and ended up really having some really solid years down the stretch and became obviously a big-time contributor to our World Series team. But people used to always talk about Utley. I was like, I'm telling you, that 08 team, and you asked the players of that 08 team, guys like Utley, Rollins, Howard, you know who taught them how to like be the guys that they were? It was Pat Burrell. Like Burrell was the guy that was like there before any of them, and Utley learned how to be a leader by watching Pat Burrell, and that whole thing. Like, you know, as you saw it snowball, Burrell had a huge role in kind of grooming all of those young guys into the players and the leaders that they became. And I don't really know if he ever fully got the credit for it that he deserved from this fan base.
Yeah. But speaking of expecting a lot,
which you could say before we move on, you could say that because the point of that was we were comparing it to Giroux, and you could probably say the same thing about Giroux. Giroux's really groomed a lot of young players throughout the Flyers organization that have come through the system while he's been there, you know, and really been the ultimate team guy in the same way that we talked about Pat Burrell being. So I wanted to kind of wrap that point, you know, kind of bring it together so it didn't seem like we were just rambling, because that was the whole point of it. So, Giroux's a guy that 20 years from now will get way more respect, or 10 years from now will get way more respect here for what he did than he's ever gotten at any point in his run here as a player. It's just that he's just going to be one of those guys, and there's a lot of them that were like this, like that in this city.
Yeah, but moving on to the Eric Bieniemy situation, of course, we've talked about it many times over the past month and a half about him year to year, the past 3-4 years, going for head coaching jobs, not get it, and being like, why is this guy not getting a job? And then us being just baffled about it. Well, apparently it just came out. A thing came out about it, and then also on top of that, somebody talked to Patrick Mahomes about Bieniemy, because there seems to be a rift between the two. But apparently a thing came out about Eric Bieniemy not being prepared for interviews, coming in there, not having a game plan for.
So what? We do that around here. We're a fan of that no notes philosophy around here. Let's be honest. So what? Just because you don't come in with a sexy interview and everything, like, good Lord. Maybe he's just not some nerd. He's like, listen, this is what I just coach football. I'm gonna get in that locker room and coach football. I don't need some sexy. We're gonna do it with the next 3 years. We're gonna go fucking win. What the hell do you mean? Well, how are we gonna do that?
Of course, a big thing with the hiring process is want to know what kind of coach you are. What are you going to bring to the team?
I know.
What do you want to do?
All these owners, you know what these guys want, Daniel? They want some fucking nerd, right? They want some dude that's going to walk in with like a notebook full of shit, like a fucking 15, 20 page, just thick ass notebook with all these new ways to change the game and all the different ways that we're going to revolutionize football. That's what these guys want now. And, I mean, I get it, but maybe, and I get where you're coming from, and I'm just going to play devil's advocate because this is what we do here. Right? It's like, all right, I'll be the guy and I'll just go back and forth and turn this into a fun conversation. But, and the whole Mahomes thing, I mean, I don't, listen, we've seen Mahomes' fiance and his brother. That whole family seems to have a lot of attention whore to them. So, I mean, I don't know if exactly I'll be like, oh, Mahomes said it. So let me sit there and be like, oh, yeah, Mahomes said it must be true.
But apparently he's like him and there's a couple other players that won't be named. I don't know why, but it came out that said that usually Bieniemy comes in. He's a great, like a player's coach, comes in very positive. He's like all happy. He came in this season, wasn't happy. He was yelling at players during practices. The players just got turned off by his morale.
Oh no, he was yelling at him, and they got their feelings hurt.
Exactly. And then Mahomes was just like, me and him were just at odds the whole season.
Well, like, I think, I mean, again, I'm trying to put myself in Bieniemy's shoes here, right?
Yeah.
Like, first of all, let's just forget about being anything for a minute, whether you're a coach on that team or whatever. If we're just being an outsider, and we're just kind of looking at it and going, okay, Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. I mean, there are some guys on that offense that have some personality traits about them that I could understand driving me a little bit crazy. And especially if you're a guy like Bieniemy who's been there for 5 years or so now and have kind of seen all that, you're like, I could get it if he's in practice and he's like, hey, like the antics of Patrick Mahomes and his fiance. Like, I just watched the whole offseason. I spent the whole offseason watching you and your fiance on my TV in commercials and everything fucking else. They were at a basketball game the other day where Mahomes was like feeding her popcorn, and then they had that little back and forth at courtside, and I don't know why the hell it was such like a front page story on ESPN, but they wouldn't stop talking about it. Like, I don't know, like they're like this it couple or whatever, and I could understand as a coach where you're a little bit annoyed, like, hey, I just want to focus on football, and you're over here running around with your fucking fiance who's got a horse face and letting your brother be an Instagram star, and and it's driving me nuts. And Travis Kelce thinks he's a rock star to begin with.
And I think that's why Patrick Mahomes was like, okay,
I could see that dynamic, and I could just understand, if that was a thing where it's like on both ends, Mahomes like, oh well, what's wrong? And Bieniemy's like, I don't know, dude. Instead of you focusing on just being a quarterback, I feel like you're a quarterback, and you're just this full on rock star now, and you're focused on all this other shit outside of just playing quarterback. And sometimes I would just like you to focus on playing quarterback. And you can't tell me when you watch that offense that Mahomes doesn't create his own, doesn't just make shit up on the fly and kind of do shit on it, on his own sometimes. That might drive the enemy crazy too. It's like, bro, I drew up the play this way, or I drew it up to work like this, and you just said, fuck it, went and did your own thing. And great, you dove, but as you were diving, you threw a sideways pass and it was caught for a touchdown, and everybody's like, oh, did you see how amazing that was? But like, what is it about you? Like, I think I could see that dynamic, because when you watch them, I think you can see that with your eyes. Now, I don't know if that's part of what that dynamic was, as far as what was, the enemy, and then they're just like, we're just not really clicking the way we were in the past. But am I crazy? Like, am I kind of looking too much in there? Like, or do you understand where I'm coming from by saying I could see that? I could understand why it might drive a coach crazy a little bit.
But I do think it's a big situation and something to look into when the league has to not bribe, but basically beg the Saints.
The Chiefs had to beg the Saints for interviews. Sort of thing.
I think that was just a telling sign. Like, the Saints would probably do it just for the Rooney War. Just bring him in, be like, okay, blah blah. We're gonna bring in. We still want the sound, but they had to bribe him to bring him in just to do the interview as like a favor. Like, it's like they had no interest with him to begin with.
No, again, and that comes back to what you're talking about with the preparation side, which I don't think is a big deal, because again, I don't think like I don't like this idea of all these people that want to like you hear the guys, and obviously Sean McVay's had a ton of success and all that, but guys like that where it's like, when you hear them talk about football, like they almost want to reinvent the game. It's not that complicated. Like, this is football, guys.
No.
It's really not that complicated.
I don't think they want it to be like, oh my God, I'm going to reinvent this or do that. They just want a game plan. They're just like, we just want some sort of idea of what you want to do. But when you don't come in prepared, like, you forget things, you don't really have anything in your head, then it's like, if I'm going to hire you, how am I going to hire you when you don't have any idea of what you're going to do with this franchise?
Okay, so let's go through a mock interview. Let's go through a mock interview here, Daniel. If you were to ask me, like, because this was some game plan. Well, what game plan? Football's football. And the guy like Bieniemy, who played at the University of Colorado back in the 90s and then the NFL, is like, football, like, it hasn't really changed all that much. What's the game plan? Give me good players. Good players always helps. And then we're going to draw up plays and schemes so that those players can be put in their best positions to succeed. And then they execute the plays and the schemes that we're drawing up for them. And we're going to practice it throughout the week so that come game day, we're ready for it. And I mean, it's literally the same thing that football's been for 40 years. I don't know why you need me to come in here with a notebook and of all these, well, I want to do this and I want to do this and I want to do this and I want to do that. You know what I want? I want you to give me good players. And I want to have a solid group of assistant coaches around me. And outside of that, we're just going to go out there and play football. But I feel like that interview, but you see what I'm saying? Like, they don't want that. They want you to you got to have some big elaborate scheme or plan.
I think with the Saints, they want a guy that can take the job from Dennis Allen. I think they're affirmed that Dennis Allen was an in-house guy, and they want him to prove that he deserves it over Dennis Allen. Allen
I didn't have any problem with that because Allen's been there, right? When you've been the defensive coordinator for that long and you're a good organization.
He's a defensive guy. He knows the team. That defense is building. They have a good defense. That's going to be what Dennis Allen does. He has that in place. He's going to continue that, and he's going to work on the offense. He's going to he's going to keep the status quo there. You bring a guy like Bieniemy in, what is he going to do? Is he going to work with the offense? Is he going to work with the defense? Like, what is his mindset going to be? And he came in and apparently didn't give him anything with that, and they were just doing it as a favor. And that's been the word around the league. He's been going in there not impressing anybody. Don't sit there telling me football has not changed. I've been watching it for 56 years.
No, of course it's changed. Of course it's changed, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's changed, but like, I still need good players. I still need good assistant coaches. You know, all the things that I needed 40 years ago to be a great football team, I still need now. Yeah, the way we're doing it has changed, sure, but like, I need you to give me good players. I need to be able to hire great assistant coaches. You know, I need the total package, just like there's always been. I need it all. I need everything. Yeah. I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is, what do you expect me to come in and say? Like, what do I need to come in and say to be like? Do you need me to give you First of all, I don't know what the identity of my team is going to be until I see what players you give me. If you get, if I have a great quarterback, I'd probably love to throw the football and throw the ball downfield and try to beat teams with explosive plays down the field because we've got great playmakers and a good quarterback. But if I don't have a good quarterback, like if I'm the Titans, now I can't throw the ball. I got to run my offense through Derrick Henry. But maybe I don't know that until I see what type of players you're giving me. So you want me to walk into this interview where I don't know who my personnel, necessarily all of my players or whatever are going to be next year. I'm almost like, well, what's the plan? Well, you tell me what the plan is. Who do you plan on drafting? We've got the 10th pick in the draft. What do you plan on doing with that? That gives me an idea of what I'm working with as far as, okay, we plan on drafting that guy with our pick. Boom, let me go from that. Whatever. I mean, obviously we're not in on these interviews to necessarily see it with our own eyes to see exactly.
I feel like he wasn't
what that
is because, just like we said, if you're going to a regular interview, you got to impress them to get the job wherever you're at. If you don't impress them, you're not getting the job. How many interviews has he gone through? I could say 8 to 10 interviews the past 3-4 years. There has to be something going on hurting him to where he's not getting a job. And I don't think it's because he's black or this and that, or because he's a minority. At some point with him, and this is just him, I'm not saying anybody else, he's doing something to hurt his chances.
Sure.
In these interviews.
There's something that he's right. There's something on his end. And maybe it's not even a preparation thing. It's sometimes it's like, some of us are better at bullshitting than others, right? Maybe it's just one of those things. You just got to go in and be a little bit more well articulated and just pick and choose your words a little bit more carefully and the way you put your sentences together, and forget about a game plan or just sit there and in the back and forth conversation with ownership or the general manager or whatever it is, come across a little bit better energy than what you're currently bringing to the table or something like that. Because negative and positive energy is a real thing too. And if what Mahomes is talking about is, it seemed like he was a little bit more difficult to work with. There was a little bit more of a negative energy. Well, that shit's contagious. And you've got a negative energy and I'm sitting across from you in an interview and I feel the negative energy coming off of you. Yeah, I don't really give a fuck what your plan is at that point. I'm not hiring you.
And then at the end of the day, he just wind up. There was a chance that the Chiefs weren't going to bring him back. And I guess the Chiefs were like, oh, there's not really anybody that we could replace you with. So Here's one.
Unless they were going to go with the fuck Nagy, they might go with Nagy or somebody like a former Andy Reid guy. But you knew it was going to be. Andy Reid's got the same group of guys that always like his coaching staff. There's a reason Steve Spagnuolo is still coaching defense for Andy, in the same way he was 15 years ago, right?
And
it's just Andy's very comfortable with certain
guys.
And
then guess what? And Matt Nagy wound up coming back.
He's back there as the QB coach.
Yeah. So I think the writing's on the wall. They bring him back for a year. I feel like after this year, if this situation with Mahomes and the team doesn't get any better, I could see where they just let him go. They move up Matt Nagy back up to the coordinator spot because it's not going to change the situation. But
I could see it being
the spot.
It could be one of those things where Nagy has a really good relationship with Mahomes. So it's like, Andy's like, I really like what Eric Bieniemy brings to the table for me offensively from a game plan perspective and all that. I think he's really good with all that. But Nagy needs to be here because him and Mahomes have a little bit of a better relationship as far as their dynamic and how they communicate. And, Andy's like, at the end of the day, it's my offense anyway, right? It's Andy's offense. And I've just got all these other guys here that are kind of helping to gel it together in the best way they can.
Maybe bringing Matt Nagy in is like the middleman between Bieniemy
exactly.
and
right.
That's so where I'll tell you what, goes to Nagy and then Nagy goes to Mahomes and vice versa, backwards.
Exactly right. So like that can kind of be like now Nagy gets to go to Bieniemy and he kind of is the one in the meetings that's communicating. Hey, this is what Patrick would like this weekend or whatever sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, something we didn't get the time to talk about that I think is going to be an interesting thing to watch play out too is the Brian Flores situation, as he just signed. Mike Tomlin brought him into Pittsburgh, and you almost feel like, am I the only one that felt like Daniel when I saw that? Like, you want to talk about like saving your career? Like Mike Tomlin just saved this guy's career, and now all of a sudden. You spend a couple years with Pittsburgh under Mike Tomlin, and you might get a second look as a head coach. Somebody might be like, you know what? We've moved on from that whole thing a year ago, or a couple years ago, if an organization like the Steelers and a guy like Mike Tomlin thinks this highly of you.
Well,
hey.
Look at who the defensive coordinator is. Just look at who's that. Austin, whatever his name is, who came in from
Terrell Austin or whatever it is. Right.
It came in from I believe Dallas. No, Dallas.
He was in Detroit. He was in Detroit.
He was in Detroit. He did the same thing. He worked his way up to defensive coordinator. Now he could be a hot name with how well that defense did last year because that offense wasn't great. Last year, the defense is what made that team sneak into the playoffs.
And they've got some guys on that defense that's like, I mean, you've got to be like licking your chops if you're Brian Flores and you get to go in there and work with a guy like TJ Watt. Good Lord. And to be honest, if we'll really be honest about that situation with Flores, you might be in a better situation right now as a defensive assistant with Pittsburgh than you would have been as a head coach of any of these organizations that were even thinking about hiring you. Would you rather be a defensive assistant with Pittsburgh or go be the head coach of that dumpster fire of the New York Giants? I don't know. I think I'd rather be in Pittsburgh, to be honest.
Or take like a coordinator job at a lesser known spot where you might not do as well because the team's not good.
Another shithole organization, right?
So
sometimes you're better off in good organizations.
So he goes to this is a big thing, a stable organization that is known
go for Miami. Go for Miami, the complete opposite of a stable organization, to one of the most stable organizations in all of football.
Where he could go there, get the limelight off of him because it's always going to be on Mike Tomlin and the coordinators. They're obviously rebuilding at the offense.
Rebuild and rebuild the image of what you are as a coach if you're Brian Flores.
Exactly. He's going to be able to work with a group of guys that played balled out last year on defense. And he's going to have a fun time with there and then kind of regrow everything. And then just like you said, in one or 2 years, you can see a situation where Austin could get a job somewhere and then he could get promoted to defensive coordinator for a big team like the Steelers and get that and build back up to that second spot again and then stay out of the limelight like he was for the past couple of weeks. So this was the perfect landing spot for him of any team to go to with who his coach was, with the organization, how they're the ones that came up with the Rooney War. So they're going to have his back. As
Yeah,
long as
and they're going to do everything they can to try to help him get another head coaching job and all that. Like, and you got to, if you're Pittsburgh, I mean, you mentioned it, they have no idea what the quarterback situation is going to be.
No.
So they're probably looking at it as our defense is going to have to be one of the best in football because we know the Steelers.
So,
let's be honest, this is the Steelers. They don't have losing seasons, right? They're going to figure something out at the quarterback position that's going to at least make them competitive enough where they feel like they can go win games. Watch Carson Wentz end up in Pittsburgh or something. You know what I mean? Like, watch. Like something like that.
Yeah, there's been talks of him too, like Carson Wentz, Wilson, Jimmy G has been floated around.
Jimmy G, see that could be like you could see a Jimmy G's like that might end up being the perfect spot for a guy like Jimmy G.
Because you got because the only thing with that is that they need to build that O line. So if they bring in Jimmy G, they better be draft picking every player in each round O line because they got the running back. They got a tight end. They got wide receivers. They got a defense. They really, I feel like they only need to rebuild, at least make that line halfway decent. It's not good right now. Like they're running for their life with that line. If you could just hit on one or two of those line spots that you could draft, and then get going to where Harris can get running and be a dominant back. And then you get Jimmy G, who just has to drop back and throw easy throws to these three wide receivers that they have or that are supposed to be good. And then you also have to count on them to catch the ball because they led the league in drop passes last year. Like you,
I mean, a lot of it had to do with Ben throwing just like frisbees at guys. You're like, yo, bro, like, give me something here, homie. Give me something. Give me something with some zip that stick in my hands, type of thing. No, I mean, and what would make sense there too with that move is it's kind of all like they don't even have to change their offense much. That's how they've been doing it the past couple of years with Ben. Is they want to grind it out. You know, they want to play smash mouth football. They want to grind it out and try to be there late in games, which is similar to what the Niners are doing with Jimmy G as the quarterback anyway. I could see something like that playing out. Pittsburgh doesn't seem to be the type of thing. Like, I don't see them drafting a young quarterback and saying, okay, if we're bad for a year, like, I don't see that. Like, they're going to go get something that makes them stable, and they'd rather win 10 games and get eliminated in the divisional playoffs than not make the playoffs at all because they've got a rookie quarterback or something.
Yeah, I'm going to see them hitting for agency for linemen. You got the draft, of course. I think they're 17 or 18. They're going to hope that Lindenbaum guy falls to him, that top one of the top linemen that's not in the top 5. He's one who's talked about guys. They're going to hope to get that. Just like I said, if you sign a guy and then draft a guy, you plug in at least one of the sides. Like you'll be a lot better than you were last year. And then like you could bring in Jimmy G for cheap. Like you don't have to give up 2 first-round picks like you would for like a Russell Wilson, or give up 3 for Watson. Like you could bring in, like, it's a scenario where what's better, giving up like a second or a third rounder for Jimmy G, or just sticking with Mason Rudolph? Don't you think Jimmy G would be a bigger upgrade than going with Rudolph?
Mason Rudolph. There is absolutely zero chance that Mason Rudolph's the Steelers quarterback to start next year. Zero chance.
What? Or are you going in there hoping that one of these quarterbacks fall to you at 18 and then draft them?
They could. I mean, they could draft a Kenny Pickett. I could. He's played like there in that stadium. They got to see plenty of them. They could draft a guy like that. But I don't know.
But that's where I feel like they're going to trade like a second or third for Jimmy G, and then also draft a quarterback because to play behind, to sit behind him for a year or two and learn.
We'll be talking about that plenty over the next couple months as we get closer to NFL draft time. That's actually going to start developing rather quickly here. As we get within the next month or so. Got the combine coming up next month and all that. So. Remember, if you're looking to buy or sell a home, looking for a change of career or brokerage, you contact Alan Foy at eXp Realty, LLC, 302-682-8820, or visit him at alan.foy@exprealty.com. I'm Zach. That's Daniel. We got the wrestling guys in this very ring coming up. Andy Ritter and all those guys later on at 10:30, about 20 minutes here or so. So we've got to wrap it up. I've got to watch the end of the Heat game and then go watch Gonzaga and see if I can hit my parlay. Good stuff. A lot of fun tonight.
And then one point I want to get off before we get going is, speaking of the draft, where Tom just came out and mentioned it earlier this past week that A2D is going to be there at the draft, covering the draft, and getting to be able to talk to a lot of the players that get drafted, especially the guys that are drafted by the Eagles.
We will have the first interviews with the Eagles players before anybody else.
So that's huge news. So A2D is getting bigger and better every day. So that's going to be something for everybody to tune in to look forward to, is hearing from those guys being drafted by our team here in Philadelphia. So that we got things on the horizon to look forward to. So keep on supporting A2D, keep coming in and helping us just grow because of these situations that come up. Because that's something big there, being able to go there and covering the draft. That's those things that when you've made it.
Yes, we're no, you hear Tom always talk about, because we used to have a piece of shit. I'll just explain him like that. That used to claim that we were playing radio.
Yeah.
That's we're going to be at the NFL draft and playing radio. Yeah. Nobody's playing anything over here. We're playing all these fools that ever doubted us, that A2D radio was going to grow into what it's become. You have no idea what you're missing out on. You better like and subscribe and follow all of our content here on A2D Radio on all of our platforms, because it really is. We are the best. I don't even say radio, the best media company in the entire Philadelphia market.
Exactly.
It's just the truth. That's real talk.
Yeah. And you can't beat that. You just look at everything that we're doing, just all the ventures that are going in from it. That just proves Tom's point at the end of the day.
Tom, we'll see him tomorrow night. Agree to disagree. The flagship, they'll be here tomorrow. So, yeah, good stuff tonight. A lot of fun as usual. And let's go watch some college basketball or whatever else we're going to watch to finish tonight. I'm Zach. That's Daniel. Daniel, got any parting words?
Nope. Just if you're into wrestling and you want to check out the guys that are coming in on at 10:30, check them out. They're going to be talking everything, of course, from the past week in wrestling, from WWE, AEW, all that. Just transition right into them when we get off. Hit the like button and hit the comment section for those guys. And tune in next week with us, as we're going to talk, of course, the Sixers and then how they look for the next week, for the next couple games. Hopefully Harden continues the trend of improving the team inside out. Other than that, back to you.
Thank you, Daniel. Frank Vespi on the ones and twos as well. Make sure we get him out there, and everybody enjoy the rest of their night. Peace out.